Welcome back to the Dynasty Football Key. And today I've got a very special guest with me. And just wanted to introduce him by saying this is a Dynasty expert, the head editor and YouTube manager at PlayerProfiler. And he gave me an opportunity to become a producer in the fantasy football space. And this really has influenced my passion for the game and content creation. So shout out to none other than Seth Diewold. Welcome to the show.
What a kind introduction. Thank you so much, Alex. And you don't do yourself justice. You've done a tremendous job as a producer. So we're lucky to have you producing Mock Draft Live, which is a show you can catch on Mondays when we can organize it, 6:30 on the Player Profiler YouTube channel. So Alex does a great job over there. And I'm excited. When Alex told me he started a YouTube channel, I first of all, I started my own YouTube channel a couple years ago, and I will do whatever I can for any content creator with passion and that's willing to do good work. And I've been watching what Alex is doing because, I it's kind of my job at Player Profiler to know what's going on all over YouTube. It's kind of looking at what other people are doing, what other content creators are creating. And this is a channel you should be subscribed to. Let me just tell you right now. So if you haven't subscribed to the channel, go ahead, subscribe, click the like, and follow Alex as he starts this creator journey. And I mean, already some of these graphics, some of this content is amazing, man. So I just want to shout you out before we get too far into this show, because wow, man, this is cool.
Very kind, appreciate it. Thank you so much. Yeah, it's really good getting the idea how things have already been working well for you guys. Built a really nice brand over there, and just trying to apply some of that over here to at least learn from y'all's wisdom. Right, I don't have to make too many of the same mistakes that maybe have happened from y'all, or maybe y'all was flawless. I don't know, but really,
no, lots of mistakes, Alex. We make lots of mistakes. So
no, I definitely appreciate it. Want to jump right in. And guys, there's been some very interesting developments. Shout out to Dynasty Daddy, which I hope people are very familiar with. This is a guy who is continuously innovating from the technical side, and he's developed a trade tree that lets you kind of visualize what has happened with trades that you have done in the past. And hey, maybe you want to see what did that lead to, because a lot of times you can do a trade and then just move on and you hope it worked out. If you win, great. If you didn't, it's okay. But sometimes it would be cool to see what happened in the past, but we really don't always have that luxury, right? And I thought this was really cool tool that this guy has, and I could actually pull it up, the live version, where you can kind of pull the trees around. Hopefully you can see that and get an idea of, all right, in this league. So this is a player profiler league where I played against the Podfather for many years. He's no longer in leagues because he's, licensing wise, he's no longer allowed to. But, we had really fun in this league where here's an example. So Chase Claypool, um, not necessarily a guy that people love on the rosters, right? And I dish him away to just get Ezekiel Elliott, just to get a little spot start for me. Or you can see in the red, these are players that were formerly draft picks. So you trade away that 512, and you can see it turn into Kenny McIntosh. You trade away the 112, and that became Roshan Johnson. Stuff like that. I just want to ask really quickly, Seth, have you seen anything like this before, to just let you kind of go back historically and check out some trades?
no, I haven't, aside from just the league history and sleeper that you can go back and see like what trades have went down, but nothing really that puts it out there in like an image form for somebody who's more of a likes to look at the visual, right? This is pretty much perfect. Like it's almost like a family tree for trades is kind of what it looks like to me. So this is a pretty cool tool, man. I like this. It's also fun to just go back and look at trades to see, you know, like, because we all make trades for different reasons. You know, I'm sure you traded Chase Claypool probably at a pretty good time when he was with the Bears, or maybe even before that when he was with the Steelers, just to, you know, get a win now piece in Zeke Elliott at the time. And
Yeah.
that probably worked out pretty well for you, considering like where Chase Claypool wound up with Miami, depending on when you made that trade. So that's pretty cool. This is a pretty cool tool, and I've heard a lot about Dynasty Daddy for those portfolio players out there to keep track of all their different ownerships. So definitely innovative tool. And I'm a fan of using just about anything I can to get an edge, you know.
I had to move this off the screen. This takes up at least 1 gig of data while you're using it, so it kind of slows down the stream. But I just loaded the 2022 version because since we haven't done our rookie drafts yet, you can't really see a lot of the movement yet. It's just April, so the further you go back, the more you can see. So I actually thought I had this page up before, that's why it threw me off a bit. So look at this. This is really interesting. So by the way, I've won this league 3 out of the last 4 years. Podfather, he was last place last season. Don't tell him. But anyway, so like Derek Carr, right? I traded Chase Claypool and Michael Carter together. Those 2 arrows are pointing towards Derek Carr. I acquired Derek Carr for that amount, okay? And then I later trade away Derek Carr for Brandon Aiyuk and TJ Hockenson. I did this. This is what happened. And that's part of the reason why I won this league. But it's just interesting to see, okay, I wouldn't have been able to even do that Derek Carr that got me the Brandon Aiyuk if I hadn't have traded away Zeke Elliott to get Claypool, and then trade Claypool to get Carr combined with Carter, and then to do that, and then after that you can see. So what did they do when the guy got Derek Carr? So it looks like he used that to get into the 3rd round and get Foreman and Tank Bigsby. So I don't know if that worked out too well for them. And we all know Carr's maybe a lower valued quarterback, but really just interesting to see that tree. And you can go all the way back. Well, not forever, but it's just kind of interesting to see how some of these goes. Here's my worst trade of one of my career potentially. Kyler Murray and Trey McBride. Murray was injured. This was in 2022, so when he tore the ACL. And rookie Trey McBride, I traded them for Justin Fields. Now, clearly, Fields helped me win. He had a 40-point game down the stretch of last season. But in the hindsight, I wish I had Kyler Murray and Trey McBride. Obviously, still kind of interesting to see some of these older trades and how they panned out. Like down here, I remember trading Tyler Huntley at the beginning of the season for Tyler Algier just because I needed a body. I don't know if you're in some of these player profiler leagues. It's super deep. Like 13 players, you have to start 5 wide receivers and a flex and 2 tight ends and 2 quarterbacks and 3 running backs.
Yeah.
So you kind of just need a body. And it was right after Tyler Huntley won the Pro Bowl. So people were kind of like, oh, maybe he'll keep the job from Lamar if he gets hurt again, which didn't happen. And yeah, just really interesting tool. I'm curious to see what he does with this. And I actually did a 3-team trade, and I talked to the guy Jeremy who owns Dynasty Daddy, and the 3-team trade, it doesn't like show as well. It's just so cluttered because there's so many moving parts. They're all like kind of stacked on top of each other. But yeah, really interesting tool. So definitely, guys, check out Dynasty Daddy. There's a lot of other stuff that they can do to kind of stack up your league against the other folks, and some tools that other trade analyzer type websites do. But really interesting. And one more I'll point out: 201 during the rookie draft. I traded 201 for Jordan Love. That helped a lot for making up for that Justin Fields for Kyler Murray debacle. So
yeah, and it just kind of illustrates getting out ahead of players. Like, Chase Claypool at one time was really valuable in Dynasty. He was young. He had a very, very strong finish to the season where he just, I remember the 4 touchdown game with Ben Roethlisberger. So people were really hyped on him. But you very, very astutely sold at the top of the market. And that's what you're trying to do in Dynasty. You're trying to cash out even when it doesn't feel right, because Chase Claypool at the time was a young, talented wide receiver with Pittsburgh, good offense. So that's what those are the moves that you're trying to make in Dynasty. And when you talk about the Justin Fields move, I'm certain that you wish you would have had that back, but
Yeah.
I mean, was that a reason you won the championship? Is because you had
Yeah, it
Justin
absolutely
Fields?
was.
Yeah. So that, to
So, no
me,
regrets.
maybe in the long term you lose that trade, which is what you do when you make trades to win now. And, it's not always about winning the value game, which is something Maddie Kiewum and I talk about all the time. It drives us crazy that everybody in dynasty leagues is like, oh, you got to win the value game. You got to put it in a trade calculator and see who won. But it all depends on context. Are you pushing your chips in a responsible way to try to win? Is this a player you need? And are you willing to trade a player who's injured to do that? At a player profiler, we are all for those kinds of trades. You might lose it a little bit in the trade calculator, but if it puts you in a position to win a championship, go for it, because we're all it's about winning, man. Because if you win
Yep.
a year, it could, depending on the size of the league and the payout, and it could fund like the majority of your teams. So anyway,
Absolutely.
I mean, these are all the things that you need to think about when making these trades. And if you know that there's a guy in your league that uses a certain trade calculator, don't be afraid to, use that trade calculator against, I was like,
Yeah.
okay, this is a guy that just goes by the book, so maybe I can send him a win. I'm going to try to get a veteran off of him for cheap, and see what happens.
Absolutely. Like, one of the things that felt like it was pretty hot in 2023 is like becoming a more predominant strategy is doing a process trade where, hey, I'm trying to get an extra piece on top. As long as I'm getting that extra piece, I'm fine with it, even if the player may or may not be in the same tier in your eyes or something like that. If someone's going for that, then you can just throw on like a third round pick to get the guy you want, and just go ahead and do it if you think it's going to help you win. And I definitely see on the player profiler rankings, it's definitely weighted towards win now. And I like the aggressiveness of those rankings. It's saying, hey, these are the guys that we believe in. And you can see simultaneously they're not scared to drop folks sometime. I know there's not a lot going on in the offseason, but I bet once the draft happens, there's going to be a lot of changes. And I'm going to move off of this. I was just going to show this is what that three-way trade looked like. And don't try to understand it. But basically, the blue
Yeah.
pieces are what I got in the trade. So I'm getting like Kamara Cup and Mike Williams, and also got some of these other pieces. And then I'm giving away T Higgins to the one team who is a new team that took over. They essentially got T Higgins in the first, and then one of the other teams got like I can't even see the rest of it, but that's what a 3-team trade looks like.
Wow.
Basically. All right. So really want to jump over to some draft pick trading, and man, and actually don't let me forget to close that out because that will be burning in the background. So we've got, I wanted to just first mention that, really I'm wondering, at what point do we feel comfortable trading away a 2024 late first round pick for 2025 first? And one of the successful strategies that I've had to do this, or I've been doing, is acquiring a lot of those late future picks just because the value is low. You just be patient, and eventually we're going to be there. We all get excited. We want to do these drafts now and win the team now. But the one strategy I've loved is either your first or last, right? And sure, there's some second place money. In reality, if you're not, if you're going to barely miss the playoffs, or if you just barely make the playoffs, and if you make the playoffs, I'm fine with that. Okay, anything can happen. We know how random this can be. But if you're not going to make the playoffs, I am full on tank mode. Give me that 101, because not only can I draft a really good player there, most likely like a Brees Hall one year, or whomever it might be, the 101 that year, but also I could trade it for the value and really help my team a lot more than if I were to just hold on to the 106 spot and be trying to compete when really I can't. And getting to tank mode can come in many different forms. However you want to do that within the rules is fine. But really, what is that point? for you, Seth. And before you answer, I wanted to like illustrate, because we haven't had a real draft, right? So let's pretend this draft that I did on my last episode, which was based on a CBS Sports mock draft, the rookie mock draft above it is where some of the picks landed. If a draft went this way and we had 5 first round quarterbacks go, which is speculated, could be even more. So this isn't a crazy mock draft by any means. If this draft were to go this way, is it the 109? Is it the 110? Is it the 201? At what point are you like, hey, I'm willing to accept the first round pick in the 2025 class over some of these players? And I'll just leave this on the screen while you answer that question, which is just a potential look at what the future classes might look like.
Yeah, it's this comes back to a discussion about who knowing your league and knowing who you're trading with. Because if I'm acquiring, and of course, in any situation, it can go tits up for you. Like you can
Yeah.
have a ton of injuries. This is Dynasty. I've seen some crazy things happen. But typically, if I'm at the 111, the 112, if I have that pick, if I won a championship, I typically don't have a problem either trading that pick for a veteran. That's typically what I prefer to do, or trade it for the 2025 first. That's probably the area I'm looking at, because as much as I actually like Adonai Mitchell quite a bit, and I would love it if he went to the Buffalo Bills. That would be amazing. But at the 111, 112, you're kind of looking at, Xavier Worthy, Brian Thomas, you got there, Ladd McConkey sneaking up there. Ladd McConkey is amazing.
Yeah.
So you are giving up. I honestly believe Ladd McConkey is probably going to sneak up into that first round more times than not, because I think he's a pretty insulated rookie. He's a pretty safe pick. The rumors are that he could sneak up into the first round of the NFL draft, but he's not dipping any lower than that mid-second. So that's a pretty good range of teams. Just think about all the teams in that area that could use a wide receiver. But I mean, he's unbelievable. So it is a calculated risk, because what you're hoping for when you make that move is you're hoping that the team that you're trading with has a top 5, top 4 pick next year, right?
Yeah.
And you have to evaluate, okay, and put your genie hat on, or not a genie, or your fortune teller hat on, and say, okay, is this a good player? How well do you know this player? Is he a good player? What does his roster look like? And yeah, if you want to take a calculated risk, that's probably the neighborhood where I'm willing to take it at the 111 spot for me and on. It's like, if you want it and you're willing to give me your 2025 first, that's a gamble I'm willing to take.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely agree there. That's the one missing piece that I don't have here is, hey, what does a potential trade partners team look like? Because sometimes they may be a little too excited, and they're not ready to win this year either. And there's still moves that they could make. They could go ahead and dump all their 2026 first as well, and try to move up.
Yeah, they could try to push their chips in, and it's just just trying to put yourself in a positive situation, right? Just trying to tip the scales ever so slightly in your favor with a move like that. And especially, Alex, like if you won the championship, your roster is probably pretty good. Like you could probably bolster it with a rookie. But like I said, I honestly would prefer, like, if somebody's looking to get rid of Stephon Diggs and they just want to cash out. If somebody's, wanting to trade away a veteran on their team, that's probably what I prefer to do. But yeah, I mean, because I like to try to push the chips in and keep that window open as long as possible, considering, we play in these 2 to 3 year windows. Scott Fish said the average dynasty league, hopefully you play in good dynasty leagues, but the average dynasty league lasts 2.5 years, just so everybody's aware of that. So again, that's why my strategies tend to go toward win now, or as I talked about on the Dynasty Roundtable, the year 1 punt, which is a strategy that will help you build a super team in just a couple years. But and I actually did that strategy with the team that we're going to look at later. But to get back to the actual question that you asked, that's what I prefer to do, is like trade for a veteran if I'm in that area of the draft and that I was in the championship game. But, that's also the area where I would consider a 2025 first as well. And that receiver from Missouri looks great. Emeka Egbuka looks, obviously, a lot of people thought he was going to come out in this
Yeah,
draft.
come
And,
on. Why'd you leave us
and
hanging?
then, I know. And then Shadir Sanders, I guess, is only going to play for 3 or 4 NFL teams, according to his dad. So
Yeah,
he's going to have to get lucky.
yeah, don't look too close at these rankings. I did
Yeah.
this in January, and I
Oh
don't know
no,
which quarterback's going to be at the top.
I,
They'll
I,
move up.
yeah, I don't think anybody really knows, man. So, yeah, and then Travian Henderson as well. So we have a lot of work to, or at least I have a lot of work to do on the 2025 and 2026 classes, but a lot of people are, down on the 2025 class, at least in comparison to the 2024. And to that, I would say a lot of people were down. It was I think it was the 2019 class as well. A lot of people were
Ooh,
down on that class. And that class produced AJ Brown, David Montgomery, Josh Jacobs, Miles Sanders was okay for a little bit. And I'm probably missing out on some names. So even in this quote unquote, it's a bad class, right? All these experts will try to tell you it's a bad class. There's still going to be some good players in that class. And I'm looking at
oh
a
yeah.
few. Egbuka is amazing. Like Travion Henderson reminded me a lot of, Marshawn Lynch on tape. Like he's just a
Ooh,
hard physical runner. And the kid from Missouri looks amazing too. So, like, yeah, if you're trading away your late first, you're hoping and you're trading it for a 2025 first, you're playing that calculated game. Like, can
yeah,
I get a top pick? Can I turn that into Egbuka or somebody like that, or top 5 pick? So that's what you're hoping for.
yeah, yeah. Part of it is doing a little scouting of the future as well, because yeah, I can throw up these rankings, but I might be wrong, or you, the listener, might be wrong. But if you get a top 5 pick, you're feeling pretty good no matter what. Like I have a league where I did the same type of move that we're talking about, and it ends up being a 102 for 2024, and you
Yep.
just never know sometimes. Now that was a new person in the league, so you kind of have a little bit of a sense of it. Right now my vibe is just a running back heavy class. So if you don't value running backs heavily, which has been kind of the trend from the NFL's perspective and trickle down to Dynasty as well, then you may not want to be all in. But then at the same time, everything is cyclical, and maybe running backs do make that big pushback if we do get into a scenario where we just have so many good wide receivers, and now we just need running backs. And if this class is light, then we might find ourselves thirsty for running backs by the time 2025 rolls around. So it's like, do I want to spend the first on a running back in the second half of 2025, or do I want a Stephon Diggs who can help me now? Because yeah, the way you answered it was basically I gave you option A and option B, and you're like, well, actually C is I can win now with Stephon Diggs in
Yeah.
my lineup, or some veteran that people are fading. Like you could probably get Devonta Adams, in that same kind of
Yep.
range.
Yep.
Um,
I agree. I
so
think that's very
I like
doable.
how you're thinking about that.
Yep. And yeah, that's typically just what I try to do if I'm in that window, because this is also the time of the year where, and Maddie and I were talking about this on the Trade God show. This is a time of the year people like to acquire rookie picks too. It just is, like, people want to get those crusty veterans off their team,
Yeah.
and the prices dip. And I'm by nature, I'm a cheapskate, so I don't want to overpay for anything in Dynasty. So the basic tenets of economics are there: buy low, sell high. And while the value of those rookie picks is through the roof, you can scoop up some veterans, like on the cheap. And that's typically what I look to do around this time of the year.
Well, let's look at some examples here. We've got some examples pulled up. Some pick trades. Some are heavy pick centered. Some got veterans involved. So, 103 draft pick was received on one end, and you've got the 107 and the 307. This is a super flex league. So, for me, I would have to lean the 103, but this is kind of some of the process trading with me thinking that, hey, I want the dominant quarterback or the dominant wide receiver in that range. That's kind of how I'm leaning. But as you see, more and more quarterbacks are getting hyped up. If someone's like, well, maybe only Drake May's there, and I think McCarthy is similar production wise, and and I can get the third on top. I don't like this top trade personally.
No,
What do you think about this one?
I don't. I think you got to get more than
Yeah,
the 107 and the 307, just because for me personally, if you're in a super flex league, there's only one tier, and that's Caleb Williams, the one tier, and then it moves down to, the receivers for me. Marvin Harrison Jr. and Malik Neighbors would be next. So that for me, that's one of the receivers, whichever one falls to that spot is what I would pick. And then at 107, you're probably looking at, maybe a quarterback falls to you. Maybe that's JJ McCarthy. Maybe, you're playing the maybe game at the 107 and you can't really target who you want to target.
yeah,
And just for the cost of the 307, which I love this
yeah,
draft. Like I've been telling people to acquire as many third and fourth round picks as possible. And trust me, I've got a lot of them already. Although somebody in your chat is going to say, wait a minute, he just said that he wanted to trade rookie picks. Well, yeah, I acquired a lot of rookie picks during the season, like when people were trying
oh
to,
yeah,
go in and win now. And so I did a lot of that. And now it's like, okay, like if you're spending all of those rookie picks on rookies, you're probably going to miss a good amount. But if you're tactical and you're using those rookie picks to bolster your roster, that's the move you want to make. So I've been telling people to acquire these third and fourth round picks basically since, the last football season, because we were looking ahead to this class. But that 107, like I said, you're playing the maybe game, and the 307 is not enough for me personally to
yeah.
move up. And yeah, there's a pretty big teardrop for me anyway, down to that pick, because you're probably not getting Rome Odunze because he's going to be a top 10 pick in the NFL draft.
Well, it feels like between Odunze and Bowers at the 107.
Yeah,
which
and
is still in a tier separate from the rest of the draft, but it's outside of that top 3 to 4, or however you got a 3 to 5 tier.
Yeah, exactly. Like to me, like it's definitely down a couple tiers from, well, at least one tier, I would say. I won't say a couple, but at least one, and it depends on who falls to you. And how I would have that player in my rankings as opposed to where somebody else would have them. So anyway, maybe we'll get into this later. I'm just not like some of these other quarterbacks. Like I think they're okay, but like Jaden Daniels scares the crap out.
Oh
Like
man,
he just reminds me of Justin Fields too much, which is going to be great in the short term. Like he's going to have a job. He's going to score a ton of fantasy points. So did Justin Fields, right? But he's not as big as Justin Fields is. He's got that slider frame, and he had Malik Neighbors. He had Brian Thomas Jr. He didn't produce until, what was that? I think his 6th year in college. I think he was a 6th year guy. He's either 5th or 6th year. I'd have to double check. But he didn't really produce. And then,
I think he's the 5th and Penix is the 6th, I think. But there's some flags, and I think this or next season is the last year we can use the COVID excuse. I think it's almost over, thankfully. And so I definitely agree with you there. And you just heard me crying about my Justin Fields trade, and this guy's a lot lighter, about 20 pounds lighter than Fields.
Yeah.
So
Justin Fields is like big, like he's every bit of 230, and it's all muscle. Like he's an insane athlete. So is Jaden Daniels, but it's really troublesome when you turn on the tape. It's a lot of one read when he's got a lot of time back there. Yeah, sure, he can survey the field, but it's a lot of, against those SEC teams, it's a lot of one read, and then I'm gonna lean on my elite athleticism and get out of here. So. And the NFL just told you how they felt about a quarterback like that. I mean, just any one of these teams, Washington, the Patriots, could have said, you know what? If another team wants to come up for one of these quarterbacks, we'll just trade a 5th round or a 4th round pick for Justin Fields.
Oh, that was so crazy.
And no, not one of them did it. Not one of them was willing to do that. I get it. The 5th year option was scaring some teams off, and they would have maybe had to pick that up. But 1 year of Justin Fields for a 5th round pick, that's all they would have had to pay to outbid Pittsburgh. Seems like a pretty good deal to me, just to, especially when your roster is not really in a place to win. And now one of these teams, I mean, who knows where Jaden Daniels is going to go? Who knows where Drake May is going to go? I would assume top 5, but
Yeah, if it's later, ooh, that's
yeah,
gonna be a shock. I love the draft because I love the shocks. Like, oh, we didn't think Gibbs was gonna go that high. We didn't think Zach Wilson might go ahead of someone, or we didn't think Fields was gonna fall in that same draft. So many things that could happen. So when we're talking about right now trading before the draft, and we're talking about when is the right time to make these draft pick trades, it's you want to be trading for them, not necessarily trading them away unless you're getting some good veteran talent and you're in the win now situation. And this next
yep,
one I think is
well said.
closer. I would go with the Laporta side because it's basically Laporta versus Roma Dunze. And now you were taking Odunze over Bowers, but we know what Laporta is. There's still the percent chance that it doesn't work out with Bowers. We don't know what the landing
Yep,
spot could be, because my thought process on the tight end is they have to be a top 2 target in their offense. If he goes to the Jets behind Garrett Wilson and Mike Williams, then year one you're not getting that, especially as a contender. And I would definitely rather have Laporta, and you're getting the bonus on top. It's like, what? Like, why did you give them a 407 on top of that? I don't
yeah.
know.
No, I'm with you in this one, and there's where there's like a Sam Laporta. For every Sam Laporta, there's 3 or 4 OJ Howards, Kyle Pitts up to this
Oof.
point, Austin Severian Jenkins. The tight end is a fickle thing, and if somebody is able to figure it out, please let me know, because I was
Yeah.
I was I was right in that camp. I would have told you there's no way Kyle Pitts doesn't come right into the NFL and
Oof.
just dominate. And Atlanta took him top 5 in the NFL draft, a tight end, which insane draft capital and pretty good landing spot, we thought, with an up and coming offensive coordinator in Arthur Smith. And then he just turns into the Grinch of all Grinches for fantasy
Oof.
football purposes, and just fell in love with Jonnu Smith. I don't know if the last name Smith was I don't know if he liked it because of that, or what the
Smith,
deal was, but
Johnny Smith.
for some reason he won the heart of Arthur Smith. And it's so hard when you have a tight end like Sam Laporta on your team. It's just, there's no question. Like, it's just,
Yeah.
you're starting Sam Laporta. He's the tight end 1 in a lot of people's dynasty rankings, and for good reason. He hit his rookie year. You have him on your roster. I would have a hard time giving up something like that, because not only is he a tight end, I mean, for as long as the league is in existence, unless he gets hurt, you have Sam Laporta with the Detroit Lions. And Jared
Yeah.
Goff, a lot of people don't realize he's just 28 years old. And the Detroit Lions are not going to be in a position. They're a good football team. They're not going to be in a position to draft a quarterback. They're not
Oh
really
yeah.
going to be in the, like, how are they going to upgrade from Jared Goff? And Jared Goff is very much in the same vein as Kirk Cousins. Like, he doesn't run. He's an accurate thrower. All you got to do is protect him. And they do that. They have a good offensive line. It's a great situation there. So why would you? This trade doesn't make any sense for me. I would honestly have a hard time, like, trading away Sam Laporta, even for, like, it would be hard for me to trade him for Malik Neighbors. Honestly, that would be tough.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
it would, but that's the neighborhood where I think it would be fair.
That
Like the
was the only
102,
yeah.
the 103, somewhere in that neighborhood. Now I think that's fair, but man, you're trading away just I don't even have to think about this. I'm starting Sam Laporta, and you'd probably, I mean, where you drafted him last year, like, it's an incredible value, because he was
Oh
he was
yeah.
being drafted after Kincaid,
Oh yeah. And
in like
I
many, like, pretty consensus after Dalton Kincaid, and some people had Michael Mayer ahead of him too.
oh
Um,
yeah.
which, I mean, I still like Michael Mayer, but this trade is overthinking it to me. I'm keeping Sam Laporta.
Yeah, and unfortunately, um, there's trends that seem to persist where every year it's like no matter what happens, uh, it's not the first tight end drafted that's the best tight end, and now that's one of the things. It's like like with the Dallas Cowboys and the NFC East. This year the Dallas Cowboys won NFC East. There hasn't been a repeat NFC East winner in 20 years. the year that the Eagles went to the Super Bowl, everyone put all their money down on the Eagles to go right back to win the NFC East. And what happened? Sometimes if you just play historical trends, you can. It may just sound like you're superstitious, but sometimes it's just as simple as that. We've got a guy in this draft who was the number one tight end RAS wise, relative athletic score, and Theo Johnson. We've got a good guy out of Kansas State and Ben Sinnott. There's a lot of options here. Even Jatavian Sanders, I really liked him. So we all love Brock Bowers. Just saying, this was basically a trade where it was more about Laporta getting traded for the risk when you already had a guy who's only in his second year and he's dominating.
Yeah,
So
I mean that's an asset you don't trade away unless you're getting a haul, and the 106 is not a
yeah,
haul.
yeah. And the last thing, if a quarterback falls there, let's say Malik Neighbors just boosted his draft stock because people double counted the speed, and you got Marv, Malik Neighbors, both wide receivers that go in the top 5. Well, I guess you're maybe someone reaches for McCarthy over Neighbors because he goes to the Vikings or something like that. Maybe Neighbors is, or excuse me, maybe I don't know. I don't know the scenario. There's no scenario. I'm trying to talk myself into it.
Yeah,
And
who knows what's gonna happen?
I don't see how a quarterback falls to where I would be like, yeah, I'm glad I traded Sam Laporta for the 106.
Yeah, I mean, maybe you get JJ McCarthy there. Maybe. I mean, it depends because
it's
you're
been in my
probably
head that he's going to be later, so it's just
yeah,
we'll see.
Yeah, he's gonna be a hot ticket item, man. Like he's just the way these super flex leagues are, people are just gonna love him. I think he's gonna get drafted pretty high. I think he's gonna be in that prime spot because Arizona's rumored to be looking at get out of there. The Chargers, same story with Jim Harbaugh, who I think they want to get as many picks as they can because they got a ton of holes to fill. Now Keenan's gone, Mike Williams gone, Austin Eckler's gone. It's just crazy. Like overnight, you would have thought, oh yeah, Justin Herbert, like his values could never you could never lose value on Justin Herbert, and then all of a sudden it's like, well, he's thrown to Quentin Johnston, and that's about it. And they're gonna draft. They're probably gonna draft a wide receiver. But that's what happens when you push all your chips in as an NFL team, And these people, they say, "Oh, the cap! Like you can always manipulate the cap. Look at the Saints." It's like, well, there are consequences to those actions, and these savvy teams will stay below that cap or just right around it because they can capitalize on some of these teams that just mismanage it or push all their chips in. We're looking at Buffalo and why they had to. They got rid of like 4 or 5 players, and same thing with the Chargers and the Saints. It's just a disaster. So anyway, all of this it's good to have your eye on these things for fantasy football, just to because you never know what can happen.
Oh yeah, it's refreshing to see some of these teams shake it up though, and you can just start not from the studs, but kind of, and then I just got a few more here. And so these were all picks that were in the kind of 104 to 108 range. It's kind of a tier I felt like was there, but it does seem like that tier might be expanding to, a little bit bigger. We'll see. Anyway, Zay Flowers 108 go away for it's a 2025 first, 201, 301, 401, and then the 2 and 3. So they basically gave away all their picks in the next couple classes except for the pick this year. So they really wanted that 2024 first on the back end of that tier. I think it's probably too much, but they got a Zay Flowers with it, so you're probably looking at two receivers. I don't think Bowers falls. Maybe Bowers falls there, but it's either 2 receivers or you're getting Zay Flowers and a Bo Nix or something like that. How do you feel about this one?
See, I don't really like trades like this because you're in to be. I understand it from the perspective of the guy who's got the 201, 301, 401, but I would just say this: if you had the 101, why are you trading all these picks? You know what I mean? Like if that's
Oh,
if you
right. They
finished in,
probably do have the 101.
yeah, if they finished in dead last, why are they trading all of their future picks away?
Oh,
You
man.
know, unless they are just confident, like it, but the 201's still a primo pick, like that there to me, there's not a ton of different. I mean, there is. I mean, it's a tier down for me, but the 201, you're still going to get a nice player. I think you had Lad McConkey there in your mock draft. Lad
Yeah.
McConkey at the 201. I mean, that's very well in the range of outcomes. Adonai Mitchell could fall there. I'm a big fan of Adonai Mitchell. Um, it doesn't make much sense for the Harley Q team to me,
Yeah.
given the
201
situation.
is basically one team reaches in front of you and it's basically a first rounder. And I showed you a trade where I got Jordan Love for the 201.
Yep.
Now you're not getting Jordan Love now for the 201, but you can get this year's Jordan Love, whoever that might be, whoever's the quarterback in waiting, whoever that might be. So I don't know. It seems like a lot. And since I've got two other trades, I'll go ahead and jump onto that page. Three other trades. So this is the last one. It's 108. We got one for the 2025 and the one that's 104. So we'll do this top one. Deontay Johnson 108. So similar to that Zay Flowers 108, but this time you're getting some players back. Saquon Barkley, Terry McLaurin. So you understand that you're not getting a running back at 108 that you feel that isn't a huge reach. So you go with Barkley, Deontay Johnson, and McLaurin, similar age, I believe, and may both be wide receiver ones on their team, as long as Deontay is over Adam Thielen. So, uh, I don't think Barkley's value necessarily goes equivalent to the 108, but I don't think it's crazy if someone wanted to make that move on a contender. What do you think about this one?
I mean, I don't hate it for either side. I'm actually on the side of, I would probably, if you made me pick, probably take the Saquon and McLaurin side, because I think there's going to be either either I think there's a quarterback upgrade coming in Washington. I'm spacing. I know Jacoby Brissett re-signed or signed back with the Patriots, I believe. But I don't think, is there a quarterback that Washington signed? I'm just spacing on it right now. As a
Jacoby
veteran.
Brissett.
Oh, did they sign Jacoby Brissett? Okay.
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay. So that's
That's a
fine.
clear they're going to draft someone type
Yeah, they're
quarterback.
they're gonna they're gonna draft somebody and pair him with Jacoby Brissett. So that's fine with me for Terry McLaurin. Deontay Johnson, I feel, is gonna get peppered with targets. I don't know how. Like, we'll see if Bryce Young can take another year. I mean, they are trying their hardest to make Bryce Young a franchise quarterback. They signed both those guards. They trade for Deontay Johnson.
Big
But
moves.
yeah,
The most
definitely
expensive ones, I think.
$100 million guard there. So, and Robert Hunt. If you made me pick, and it's not even because I'm super high on these players, it's just what I would do, is the Saquon McLaurin side of it, especially depending on the roster, especially if you're a win now team. And I do have my concerns with Saquon. He's like somebody who I'm looking to sell, just because I'm worried about, like, if you look at last year, DeAndre Swift had a career low in targets last year, I believe. And that's concerning for a guy like Barkley. Also, the tush push and what they do along, their game plan in the red zone is Jalen Hurts, man. And that's, so you're
Yeah.
going to be dependent on, and I'm not saying he can't do it, because Saquon Barkley's amazing. But you're going to be dependent on breakaway runs and for touchdowns. And you're probably not going to see a much passing volume to the running back, or not as much anyway.
Yeah.
So that concerns me, especially in redraft. But if you make me pick, I'd take the Barkley and McLaurin side.
Yeah, I'm trying to lean it, at least for that situation for Barkley and those guys. I'm thinking that, look, he's in a more efficient offense than with the Giants, and especially those Giants games, they're going to be feeding him after all that Tiki Barber stuff. And
Yeah.
my last guest did point out that, hey, they're losing Jason Kelsey. That's a big blow. But he also, in the same breath, was like, Jason Kelsey's still kind of on staff, going to try to coach up that replacement to do the tush push. They haven't banned it, so they're going to just keep doing it.
Yep.
And that's a part of Hurts' game. Now, Hurts was injured at the end of the last season, and it's part of the reason he just couldn't get it done in the postseason. So maybe because this is the best running back they've had, they lean more on him. I did a trade for Barkley recently, so I'm not too scared. But the age cliff is coming. I have personally viewed Barkley as one of the more similar athletic wise running backs to Christian McCaffrey. He's not McCaffrey, but it's just I'm trying to just trust the talent and the fact that he's on a good team. I also think this team drafts very well, so it could work out, and this guy could be fine. So I do like that side for win now, and even the 108 if you're a rebuilder, it's not. I don't even really want Deontay if I'm a rebuilder. I probably would have wanted something else in that case.
Yep.
Otherwise, you might as well
Yep.
just because it's kind of lateral from McLaurin to Deontay.
Agree.
So
Basically, I agree with you. So that when it comes down to like, would you rather have Saquon or the 108? And I'm always trying to win. So like the player that I can get at the 108, I'm just thinking probably you're obviously not going to get Caleb Williams, Malik, Marvin Harrison. The two other quarterbacks are going to be gone. Jaden Daniels, Drake May, Brock Bowers is going to be gone. Roma Dunze is going to be gone. So you're probably going to be on the outside looking in of those top options. So it's probably going to be if JJ McCarthy's there, if like in this situation, it would be JJ
yeah,
McCarthy. JJ
yeah.
McCarthy, Brian Thomas Jr. or something like that. And to me, I would just rather have Saquon in that scenario. So that's kind of what
Yeah.
you're right. I think McLaurin and Deontay Johnson's pretty close.
All right. Well, we got another one from some of these are similar. A lot of trade addict leagues in here. I like those guys. Shout out to them. So 104 getting a little bit higher in those tiers for Tua or 305. So you're basically saying I was going to take a quarterback, but maybe you're scared of the New England spot. Maybe you're worried about the player in general, and you just know that Tua's got those two speedsters on the outside, and you also get the little 305 there.
Wow.
I don't know. Well,
This is
well,
this
how are
is a,
you
this
feeling
is a
about this one?
this is a tricky trade because we all know Tua's injury history, and if they can keep him healthy, he's pretty efficient, especially with those two options. I mean, to me, this is a definite. If you're Chiefs Kingdom, you need a quarterback. You probably are telling you might even be in the same thought lane as me, thinking I don't trust one of these rookie quarterbacks to take my team where I think it needs to go. So this is a win now move to me because there's no doubt, in my opinion, is even though I'm not a big fan of either Jaden Daniels or Drake May, they have more longevity potentially than Tua.
Yeah,
That's the bet you're
Tua came in the
making.
league and injured.
Yeah, that's the bet you're making if you're Jalen Go Carter, because if Tua's healthy, he's a suitable fantasy quarterback. Age isn't as big of a deal for quarterbacks, but it's the injuries and the concussions that are worrisome for Tua, who's a smaller guy. I'm still taking the Tua side though. I think the Tua side is more of my style, and I'm according to my rankings, Caleb Williams is gone, Marvin Harrison Jr. is gone, and Malik Neighbors is gone. And you're probably looking at either Roma Dunze, Drake May, Jaden Daniels, Brock Bowers. I think that's worth a Tua, but it's close. It's really close, and it's not a trade that I really like
Yeah,
on either side. But to me, it's a clear the Tua side is the win now side. Like they're saying, I need a legit quarterback. I'm willing to pay for it. I respect it. Yeah, so I'll take Tua.
yeah,
I'll roll the dice.
yeah. The other side, they were happy to get that 104, and they're like, "Sure, yeah, you can have this third rounder. I give me the 104. I just got to get rid of Tua or something like
Yeah.
that."
Yeah.
Um, so, all right, last one here. We've got Chris Rodriguez, Kyle Pitts, 225 first round pick that are going in exchange for a 108 and DeAndre Swift with Isaiah Likely. So you can probably take out the Rodriguez part since Eckler's there now. So Kyle Pitts, first rounder in 2025, or Swift likely in 108. Maybe the first rounders are kind of equivalent here to me. I would say that it's pretty close. Maybe there's a chance that they have more information than we do. The Pitt side for Swift, that's that's pretty easily Pitts for me. I am still more of a risk taker, even with that last trade. I'm willing, kind of in any scenario, to give me the 104 here. I am still going to gamble on Kyle Pitts and bet on the talent. The guy is still younger than guys that are being drafted this year. It's insane. So
And he finally has the super distributor and Kirk Cousins on his team now. The guy who's going to throw over 600 passes, over 600 attempts pretty comfortably in an offense with an offensive coordinator who's coming from the same tree. Zach Robinson coming from the Rams, Kevin O'Connell coached with the Rams. So yeah, to me, I think you broke it down beautifully.
boom.
I think you can pretty much cross off Chris Rodriguez. I think the 2 picks cancel each other out because it's hard to know what that 2025 first is going to be. I just assume it's a mid first round pick, similar to the 108. And then it's Isaiah Likely, who last time I checked was backing up Mark Andrews in Baltimore. And DeAndre Swift, who has never played a full season in the NFL. So, which is why, by the way, my Roshan Johnson plug, which is why I should go get
There we go.
Johnson. So yeah, it's pretty easily Kyle Pitts for me because it's crazy. Like you would think people would be more in on Kyle Pitts because year after year after year, it's almost like people have conditioned themselves not to be burned one more time. But
Yeah.
I'm telling you, the situation is just completely different. There's a big difference between Marcus Mariota and Kirk Cousins. Like Kirk Cousins is perfect if you have a pass catching tight end like Kyle Pitts, Drake London, Darnell Mooney, all like Bijan. It's great for Bijan too.
Yeah.
Like it's great for everybody.
I'm
So
excited.
it should be great. It should be great. And I'm going to be heavily invested in Falcons players for sure.
Oh yeah. I think TJ Hockenson might have been on path for a career year before he got injured. And
Yep.
Kyle Pitts, end of first. The one thing we haven't mentioned about those firsts is regardless of who's there, even though we showed the list of potential players there, kind of regardless, these 2025 players, they can't get injured and their value is going to continue to rise. So you can trade them for something a little bit later if that's something you need to do. And usually people in this type of trade are kind of looking towards the future. I mean, if you're getting a DeAndre Swift, you definitely are looking for someone to plug into your lineup right now. And the 108 is more of a now piece than that 2025 first. So I think that's a good kind of segue when we're talking about the rise of Kyle Pitts. We were wanting to look at some risers and fallers, and we got Kyle Pitts here at the bottom 69, and he's right above Bryce Young, right behind Kirk Cousins. And then, for me, I'm curious your perspective on it as far as when we're talking about these risers and fallers. I don't want. I want to jump to a relevant player right now on Player Profiler this morning. Jason Allwine, he was talking about the Rashee Rice incident. I'm from Dallas. I used to work not too far from SMU, which is where Rashee Rice went, and I know that highway that he crashed on allegedly. So, got to get that in.
Yeah.
So where how does if at all does Rashee Rice Hollywood's value change at all according to Jason? And this was again speculation, just just making sure we have some kind of update. After his episode, Rashee Rice made an announcement via his attorney, and ultimately we don't think it's going to be something where he's out for a long period of time. We think the NFL will probably give him some suspension. He's on the Super Bowl team, high visibility, but it's a rookie mistake, and they want to make sure that other players don't make this similar mistake. So, even if it's just a little 2-game suspension, it's probably not going to affect his dynasty value. Some people are speculating that it may incentivize them to draft a wide receiver, but they already had a lot of incentive to draft a wide receiver before this. So, you got Kelsey impending retirement. You've got Mahomes, so you can kind of withstand anything, it seems like. But still, what's your opinion on it? What's your take for Rashee Rice and Hollywood Brown? And I would say maybe I should just say for 2024, how do you feel about that situation?
I would tell people, as a general piece of advice. It seems like we have one of these dumb things happen every year. You know, the ultimate
Yes.
horrible situation was the Henry Ruggs
Oh
situation
my
where
god.
he killed somebody.
Yeah.
Right, that was awful. Luckily, nobody died, at least not to my knowledge, in this accident. It was just a hit and run, which still stupid, not a good look for Rashi Rice.
Learn from
And
Rugs.
Jason Alwine broke it down really well this morning. And Jason is another one of those guys that you need to follow everywhere he goes, because he's super tapped into things like this. And you can use these kinds of news and events to your advantage if you're a savvy dynasty player. Not that we ever want anything like that to happen, but I- some people are like, I probably got 3 to 4 trade offers
Oh my.
people trying to get Rashi
Kidding me.
Rice off my roster for, pennies on the
Come
dollar.
on.
And it's like, no, 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 no. We're not doing that. Like, so to me, you can't move them up or down too much until we know more information.
Yeah, that's the
And
right
if you
answer.
if you got him, you gotta hold him. You can't trade him based on some speculation. According the video looked pretty bad to me. Uh, Most likely, what's probably going to happen is he gets 4 game suspension, 6 game suspension, something like that. He'll get
Oh, okay.
something.
Yeah.
Something will happen to him that
It could have been a lot worse. Yeah, I could see
well,
that.
but and it could be a lot worse, man. I mean, it could. That's probably the most likely. Just if you make me guess right now, but you can't trade him. You can't trade him
Yeah.
right now because you're getting 50 cents on the dollar. And I don't even know if I'm really comfortable buying him for what somebody would likely want for him. I mean, if you're just giving him away, then yeah, I'll take Rashi Rice. I'll take a chance
That's a
on him. But
that's a great point.
it just I don't know if you can trade for him, and you definitely can't trade him away.
Yeah, that's a great point, and it makes me think, even in this current range, where, Rashi Rice or Tank Dell, you know, one is attached to CJ Stroud, one's attached to Mahomes, so it's kind of hard to go wrong. But on a points per game basis, you can see Tank Dell was 1.7 points per game more. Now got injured. It was off of a blocking play, not necessarily him getting tackled. So slightly fluky, but we know Tank Dell's a small guy. Still, he's doing pretty well with what he's doing there. And there's still other first rounders like a Jordan Addison or Zay Flowers, those types. Maybe if you're able to get something on top, you could go those directions. There's some flaws with Addison's situation and even Flowers and those guys. I agree with you though. It does feel like a no move. I would go after Rice, but it's just the price was already high and too high for me, and I
Yeah,
don't think other people are falling for the bait either. And really, when I said it could have been worse, I didn't think the suspension would be much more than what you said. More that the accident could have been much more. So it's just like one of those
yeah.
things where these guys got to learn a lesson, and maybe the NFL wants to say, even instead of you having this 11-year prison sentence, we just wanted to make sure that you get the message, and it's these 6 game checks or something, to try to make it harsh. But uh, how about we pivot to someone that's a riser in George Pickens, who is player 64, age 23, basically a year younger than Rashi Rice. They're about 10 months apart. Uh, you know, he's now the wide receiver one for the moment. I've been saying Troy Franklin to the Steelers. That's my prediction in the first round, and that's gonna be probably not gonna happen based on the combine. But I'm still gonna stick with them going Troy Franklin at some point. They're not just gonna have George Pickens and Pat Fryermuth and whoever else is there. So I understand that, but still, how much does he rise for you? These are player profiler rankings. I don't know when they were last updated. I just don't remember. But for you, I'm seeing it's just a little 2.5 point bump here. So I'm not sure exactly when that happened. Is he a riser based on the news? It's been, or that trade from Deontay Johnson over to the Carolina Panthers been about a few weeks, I think. I
Yeah,
just haven't gotten a chance to cover it myself.
No, you're good. Yeah, it's a minute since he was traded. Yeah, I think George Pickens is quite clearly a riser. I mean, so you talk about Kyle Pitts. I think Kyle Pitts is 23. George Pickens is just turned
Yeah.
23 years old, and like this is a guy. Cody Carpentier always comes out with the dog rating, and
Yeah.
this was like his number one dog rating guy that
Yeah.
year. And he's an interesting cat, man. George Pickens. He's got a personality, but most wide receivers do. And he's the top dog there right now in Pittsburgh. And guess what? He's got a guy who throws the deep ball pretty well in Russell Wilson. And oh, by the way, if Russell Wilson doesn't work out, there's Justin Fields there, and somebody who is a competent quarterback. And I believe that the Bears really didn't do Justin Fields many favors, especially when Matt Nagy was there. So again, I love George Pickens. I have him higher than Player Profiler has him in just my own personal dynasty rankings. He is. Let me just do some quick back of the napkin math here. And by back of the napkin math, I mean I need to highlight all the cells in my wide receiver 22. That's
Okay.
where I have him. Right below, actually, Rashi Rice, Tank Dell, Zay Flowers, and George Pickens. I have 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. So I have him right below those guys.
Got him wide receiver 22.
Yeah. So
All right.
I'm very
I've
bullish.
got him 25.
Okay, so we're in the same neighborhood. Um, yeah, I really like him. He's going to be, and Matty Kiwoom kind of schooled me because I think we look at that situation and go, oh, Arthur Smith, really? Arthur Smith, the offensive coordinator in Pittsburgh. That means he's probably going to recruit Jonnu Smith back over there.
Yeah.
You're going to give the ball just to Najee Harris nonstop, which still could happen, I guess. But if you remember, the reason Arthur Smith got the job in Atlanta was he's a pretty good offensive coordinator in Tennessee and had some years with AJ Brown that made us really happy for fantasy football. Matty Kiwoom reminded me of that, and that range of outcome is still very much there for a guy like George Pickens. So, yeah, George Pickens for me very clearly a buy. I probably have him higher than most people do in my dynasty rankings.
Yeah, and I know you play a lot of underdog fantasy, and I still feel like he's not going high enough in underdog. Underdog is tricky, but I've been leaning into the wide receiver heaviness because the drafts where I don't do that, I really get kind of crushed.
Yeah.
So,
Oh,
but it's
they're
hard to get him
all
in the right spot.
yeah. They're all they love the zero RB is very much alive on underdog. Like
Yeah,
people.
it's one of those things where you're drafting. I'm drafting in January or February, and I think I'm ahead of the curve. But I'm only drafting with people who live for this.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so
You're drafting against all the sickos out
yeah,
there. They're just like, give me like 6 wide receivers to start, and I'll figure out every other position later.
yeah.
Craziness.
All right. All right, we got some good ones in there. We cover most of the guys that between Russ and Fields. I just wanted to quickly say that I'm definitely comfortable with having both. I think I have Fields quarterback 25, which is ahead of some starters because I'm especially in an underdog format. All you need is just him to step in with a you know um, broken toenail to Russell Wilson or something like that, and he could pop off at the end of the season. But even for Dynasty with the age, I think he'll end up landing somewhere. I've seen so many of these other first round quarterbacks get multiple shots on different teams. And this was a trade, but once this contract's over, Fields will get an opportunity to choose where he goes. Even if for whatever reason he hasn't shown enough for a team to say you're the starter, I think he'll get an opportunity to compete in camp. Maybe this year because of the coaching staff. That's how they run things in general. But it seems like they've been leaning towards just saying, "Hey, Russ is the guy." For the veteran deference. But still, on a new team, I'm good with Fields and Dynasty just with the rushing upside. And now he's going to be on the shelf and not getting banged up, so he might extend some of that longevity. And one of the things I wanted to mention earlier that I forgot was that with some of these rushing quarterbacks, is it a mistake for me to say that the career longevity may be tied into kind of how running back, how we view that. We saw a Cam Newton who what had got him out was actually a shoulder injury ultimately, and it was a throwing shoulder, but it was because of the hits he was taking repeatedly, and the rest of that time we're not calling plays evenly, as was kind of documented after the fact. But there's still guys like Jaden Daniels who we think will take a bunch of hits, and Lamar has been able to stay healthy this season. The last 2 seasons in a row he couldn't finish. Some speculated it was contract related. Still, I've been kind of feeling like the age cliff is a little bit different for the rushing quarterbacks. So I'm good with Justin Fields' age right now, but in long term, that kind of stuff does worry me. Do you buy into that, or do you think that at some point those quarterbacks are going to learn how to throw more and just be a pocket quarterback?
I think there is, because when the athleticism goes away too, then some of what makes them special also goes away as well, and they're more reliant on being more of a pocket passer, which if you rely on your athleticism, like, Justin Fields does at this point in his career, because he's amazing at it. He's amazing at scrambling around and running for big gains. When that goes away, yeah, sure. Like that has to be a factor. So those, age isn't everything for quarterbacks. And, we talk about a quarterback like Anthony Richardson, you brought up Lamar Jackson. These are definitely guys who we want on our fantasy teams, but I think it's important too to remember 2 things. One, I think you're right. Like when that athleticism goes, some of what makes them special goes, if not all of what makes them special go. And then 2, the NFL basically told you, if there was anything that we learned from the Justin Fields saga this offseason, it's most teams in the NFL want somebody who can throw from the pocket.
Yeah,
That's just what they want, and that's what they're comfortable with, for better, for worse, regardless of how we feel about it for fantasy football. We love these Konami quarterbacks. They're amazing, but the NFL is telling you, actually, we want somebody who can read a defense and go through multiple reads and stay in the pocket and deliver the ball on time and, with anticipation and all this stuff. Like, it's more of like a throwback to the Peyton Mannings and the Tom Brady's, but guys, those guys were pretty good and they won a lot of football games.
Yeah.
There's a lot more examples of those types of quarterbacks, as opposed to the Lamars and the Jalen Hurts, which, to be fair, they've won a ton of games too. And you can definitely be successful with those quarterbacks if but you have to build a scheme to fit their strengths, and their strengths are running around with the football a little bit, which a lot of NFL coaches are uncomfortable with. So,
yeah.
And you could say that if the Bears would have built a system around Justin Fields, he could have been a lot more successful if they would have embraced some of what he can do well. But they tried to make him into a pocket passer, and it didn't go so well.
Well, I've spent a lot of time on Fields because I know he's a part of your roster review we're going to break down next. But just to piggyback off that point you were mentioning there, I was going to ask if the Dallas Cowboys traded a 4th round pick, which is now in this class, for Trey Lance. And I'm like, so does that mean the Cowboys value Trey Lance over Justin Fields, or do they just want someone who's less of a threat to Dak Prescott, or is it just contract leverage, or are the Cowboys just idiots?
I don't know, man, because it's kind of funny and it doesn't quite add up to me, because the San Francisco 49ers traded 3 first rounders or 2 first rounders, however you view that, for Trey Lance, moved up to the 103.
They need to
And
give
there's
us
all
a job.
sorts of speculation that Kyle Shanahan wanted Mac Jones and blah, blah, blah. Like, well, maybe in 20 years when he writes a tell-all book, we'll know the answer. But Trey Lance was the pick. And that same organization said, I think it was somebody close to Shanahan, and this is coming from the Chicago guys I listened to, David Kaplan, Jonathan Hood, on the radio. They said somebody close to Shanahan said if they had 32 first round picks, they weren't drafting Justin Fields. So, which doesn't make a ton of sense to me, because if you look at Trey Lance in college, didn't really prove that he was much more than North Dakota State, ran a lot, didn't really show that he had, an accurate arm, was definitely going to be a project at the NFL level. So it doesn't really add up to me, but yeah, Trey Lance, clearly some teams in the NFL just feel like if he's one of these guys, if you give him a chance, he, who knows what can happen. They believe in the upside, which I feel like they should feel that way about Justin Fields too. But anyway,
Yeah.
I'm not. They don't pay me the big bucks to do that.
Yeah, well, sometimes these teams do things that make me think we should at least get a chance. Like, let me get one draft.
That would be nice. Maybe someday, Alex. They'll call
lottery
us
it
up
off
and
or something.
me and you, just GM, co-GM. So we'll figure it out.
All right. Well, I'm gonna move on, but I will have a lingering question with this. With the Washington situation, Austin Eckler, Brian Robinson. Do you have any interest in that situation?
Not really, to be honest
right.
with you. I really believe Austin Eckler was dealing with an injury last year. So if you made me choose, I'm gonna choose the pass catcher and somebody who I think still has a little bit of juice
All
left.
right.
And he's gonna be super cheap too.
Oh yeah.
He's not gonna cost you more than a 3rd round pick, if I had to just guess. Like if you saw that pop up in your inbox, 304 for Austin Eckler, and you're a win now team, you're at least going, maybe we can.
It looked
maybe
rough.
we can squeeze a squeeze a 4th rounder next year out of him or something.
Yeah.
But it's not, it's not a crazy thing to say. It's his value's definitely taken a huge hit, but Washington, they have a ton of draft picks, and they are a team that is going to be playing in a lot of negative game script situations. So that tells me that at least Austin Eckler, get a ton of dump offs.
Yeah.
Like in just PPR formats. He could be somebody who is just it'd be nice to have him on your roster. And if it's only going to cost you a 3rd round pick and you're a win now team, that's a move I'd be willing to make.
All right. Yeah, maybe worth a shot. So let's go ahead and move on to the Dynasty RoundTable League. And I don't know if you want to, I don't remember if you plugged your show already, but obviously this is a league, a part of probably some folks from Player Profiler and some subscribers.
Yep. We've got myself, Matt Babich, Matty Kewham's in there, Cody Carpentier from Roster Watch,
Awesome.
formerly of Player Profiler, and now he also writes for the Orange Bloods, which is an amazing website. He covers the Texas Longhorns, so
cool.
Great insight there. Out. Yeah, so just check it out. I know some of it's paid, but a lot of it's free that you can go check out. So, but yeah, I'll plug my show, not Cody's show, the Dynasty Roundtable, Wednesdays at 7 p.m. on the Player Profiler YouTube channel, which if you're not subscribed there, we have so many amazing content creators shows. You just want to be subscribed. But yeah, this is what I did. This is my league, or this is my team in the Dynasty Roundtable League. And this is the year 1 punt strategy that I told you about. You'll see that I've got a ton of 1st round picks this year. Now, I'll be honest with the audience. This is like worst case scenario for the year 1 punt, because I got the 110, the 111, and the 112. And I drafted my team, and I did too good at drafting in the later rounds, because I was able to get Laporta. I was able to get Jordan Addison, Rashee Rice late. I hit on Luke Musgrave, I think is going to be a hit. Cole Kmet is always disrespect. Like Cole Kmet, all he does is finishes the top 10, top 9. He's solid. And this is a 2 points per tight end league. So I drafted a lot of tight ends. I have 4 there in my starting lineup. So I have Drake London as well.
Is this tight end premium?
This is 2 points per tight end premium.
Ooh.
So it's super tight end premium. So I've, my quarterbacks are a little bit light, as you can see. So I have some work to do there. Quarterback and running back are probably my weak spot. But I feel like with some of these draft picks, I'm going to be able to add to my wide receivers. And I'm looking to add cheap quarterbacks, and I actually just made a trade. We'll see what you think of this. You brought it up. I have Justin Fields on my roster. I traded the rookie pick 204 to get Justin Fields straight up.
Okay.
To
What do I
me,
think
it's
about that?
what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts? What do you think about that? To me, it's a calculated risk because I think that Justin Fields might not be this year, but I think if you gave Mike Tomlin truth serum, you would say
Uh-oh.
he would tell you that Russell Wilson's 35, Sean McVay just or not Sean McVay, Sean Payton just cut him, and we took advantage of that situation. We're going to bring Russ in, see if he can do it. But really, our plan is to groom Justin Fields to be the next quarterback of the Pittsburgh Steelers. And we'll figure out the contract with him. He needs us more than we need him, right?
Yeah.
We're the Pittsburgh Steelers, baby. I mean, I'm not saying like what should be the case. I'm just saying what Mike Tomlin's
Yeah,
thinking in that
absolutely.
organization, because somehow they're one of the smartest teams out there, because somehow they went from Kenny Pickett without spending any money. They went from Kenny Pickett to Russell Wilson and Justin Fields. Both of those quarterbacks were starting quarterbacks last year and were better than Kenny Pickett was.
I mean, they weren't even starting Kenny Pickett at the end of last year.
Yeah,
either.
absolutely.
Mason Rudolph so it's a huge upgrade, man. I think so. I've got him over Bo Nix. I got him at quarterback 25, Justin Fields, that is, right ahead of Matt Stafford, Bo Nix, Michael Penix Jr., and Geno Smith, and right behind Will Levis. And other rookies that I have him behind is Jonathan Brooks and Trey Benson. So those are players that are going in that 102, 203, 204 type range. So I got him right there pretty much. So it's like if you want a quarterback, which is way more valuable than a running back in a down running back class, then I don't mind taking a shot on Fields. And I just told you earlier, I definitely feel like he'll get an opportunity in the future. I got Bryce Young ahead of him. Fields could still end up scoring more points than Bryce Young in one of the next seasons versus what he might do in a couple combined. Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I don't think that's crazy at all, because I'm looking at it and it's just a huge gap, between the Jaden Daniels to some of these other rookies. Like I said, like that's pretty much after that first round. Even some of those receivers Fields might be a better pick than. It's just they've got all the capital behind them and they'll have a lot of love, but it won't take much for Fields just to come in an injury situation to produce and recoup some of his dynasty hype and value just overnight this season. You don't even have to wait until 2025 for the potential for him to bounce back value wise or in the real NFL. So I like the move. It's pretty much where I've got him, just right behind Jonathan Brooks. And so Bo Nix, he would probably go higher if maybe he gets drafted, really high or something like that. I still think Fields is a rushing quarterback over Bo Nix, who I'm expecting to be more pocket passing guy. So I like the upshot because, the Derek Carr types, you really have, they don't do too much unless you're throwing like at a Kirk Cousins level clip. Kirk Cousins, he's almost always throwing for 4,000 yards. That's got to be the minimum for Bo Nix. I just traded Bo Nix yesterday in an insane trade for Jalen Hurts. And, the point is,
what? How did that happen?
It's a campus to Canton league. So I traded away my next 2 years worth of freshman draft picks, guys that are seniors in high school becoming freshmen in college. And I had the 101 because my college team is awful, but my NFL team is pretty good. And so Bo Nix is now on my NFL side, and I'm like, well, I don't want to be starting him. I got Kyler Murray, Stafford, Geno Smith. Like, let me just get another quarterback. And the guy was new in the league and just wanted to make it his own. So I got Jalen Hurts and AJ Barner, sleeper Michigan tight end, for those 2 first and Bo Nix and Caden Fegan, I think out of Illinois. So yeah, really weird trade. But point is, I
All
didn't
right.
see Bo Nix as like an addition to my team. I was like, he's just going to be on my bench. He's not going to do more than Stafford. So to upgrade to something else, if you're getting Fields, I like that. The only thing with the that situation there is we've seen some of these picks spike in value around the draft time. So maybe you could do 204 for something else down the line. But
Mm-hmm.
feel like I said, in training camp, Russell Wilson could have something could happen. He might decide he wants to just be a model full time. Like who, like who knows?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. No,
wouldn't take much to bounce back.
I really believe that's, like, who knows? And maybe it's just a tryout to see what they have in him. But that's a real smart organization that I don't think is going to be
Absolutely,
picking very high. Like, as long as Mike Tomlin's there, you can pretty much pencil it in. They're going to be in the playoff hunt. So again, I was pretty happy with how I was able to. And again, this will be year 2 coming
yeah.
up. We had the startup
He's your
last
QB
year.
three, so
Yeah, so I need to figure out a QB2. I need to get some running backs. I don't really like running backs, as you can probably tell from this roster construction.
yeah.
So I went pretty heavy wide receiver, tight end because of the format, and I didn't get lucky. Like, we play with too many good players in this league. So the first round picks that I acquired were all 10, 11, 12. I've done this strategy before, and you get like 3 top 5 picks. Like, it's crazy. Like, some crazy things can happen. And basically, like, I covered the year 1 punt strategy, which is what this is. If you want to call it productive struggle, I don't like the term productive struggle, because I don't like to struggle. I like to be an assassin and just, gain as
Yeah.
much value as I can, and with a win mindset. So I feel like this team's pretty set up to, I just need a couple more pieces. Like I said, I need that QB2. I need a running back or 2, but I've got draft capital to make it happen. So I'm sitting pretty here, I think.
Yeah, I like it. And just to give my thoughts on it, first, I'm definitely in the league with a player profiler league with the guy who has the 110. And but yeah, your QB2 is got replaced by Gardner Minshew potentially. I still can't battle, but the money suggests that Minshew's the guy.
Yep.
There's slight speculation they go ahead and take a quarterback. So with 105, that's for me. That's not a Malik Neighbors in your situation. I would prefer. I'm still okay taking Jaden Daniels. You even said it yourself. He's going to score points until he gets injured or
Yeah.
the team,
I'll,
the
I'll,
contract runs out and they don't want to pay him the big money. That's what happened with the Bears. They were willing to still trot him out there. The real problem was they didn't give Fields weapons. With Jaden Daniels, that could happen on the Patriots. So that's the big threat. Now, we think this is a deep class, but a year 2 Demario Douglas in an all rookie supporting cast outside of I think Kendrick Bourne. Did they get KJ Osborne as well?
yep. The
Yeah,
Patriots. Yeah, they
so
signed KJ Osborne. Yep.
so some wide receiver threes in the NFL, and maybe one second round wide receiver they get. So whichever quarterback goes there, it's going to be tough. So that might be who you're looking at that spot if they don't go earlier. Otherwise,
Yep. No,
it's between JJ and a Malik Neighbors. I'm probably going Malik there at that spot.
it's a pick you're gonna have to pry away from, like that 105 for this particular team. Like, I mean,
Oh, is this
obviously,
Bowers because of the two?
no.
Okay.
Well, Bowers is probably gonna go. If I had to guess,
Oh,
in this format, should go like top 4. Like, probably should go
yeah.
Caleb Williams, Marvin Harrison, Malik, Brock Bowers, and then I'm gonna get my pick of whichever quarterback I
All right.
want. So if I had
You're
to
good.
guess, that's why, to me, like, the 105 is kind of my failsafe. Like, if I can't get a quarterback in a trade, or if I can't trade, like, maybe I can trade back and get a veteran quarterback. I don't know, but the worst case scenario, like, I have no problem with doing exactly what you talked about with this specific team. Because even though I'm not a big fan of Jaden Daniels as the NFL prospect, I realize that there's a difference between, realizations for fantasy football, and he has the best chance probably to score me a bunch of points in year 1. And then Drake May's probably also going to be there as an option as well. So either one is it's going to be a plug and play most likely. Starting quarterback in the NFL. So that's definitely a situation I'm looking at. And I've had people come try to get the 105 from me, but it's a pick that
Yeah.
I'm going to have to get a ton of value for, because I know that's probably a quarterback. In a super flex league, that's super valuable,
Yeah.
especially with my team. Especially with the team in the state that it's in. I need a quarterback in a super flex league. So
Absolutely. And I think that when we talked earlier with regards to, hey, can I get a veteran? Can I get a veteran for the 110?
yep,
That's the range where start later, obviously, but that's the range where you can go ahead and fill in first. I would first obviously try as much as possible to get actually another tight end. To be honest, this is
okay,
the type of league where I like to squeeze. The player profiler league I'm in is the 2 tight ends, so that's one where I'm willing to try to squeeze the position there. And in some of the other tight end premium heavy leagues, I do like to squeeze it, and just because ultimately something happens, someone gets injured, and then someone's willing to overpay later. And I'm talking about with some of these later picks, but if not, I'm trying to see if I can get, how much does the golf cost, or how much does some of the quarterbacks in that range cost. The guy that I don't hear too many people trying to acquire is Aaron Rodgers. It's a obvious cliff coming at some point. But if we're thinking that Kirk Cousins is going to be fine, a few years younger, but still, I'm going to go just lean into the risk. And when people are running away, that's when you buy the low stock. So,
yep.
so,
Alan Seslowski says sometimes you have to run into a burning building in Dynasty, and that's exactly what you're
there you go.
talking about.
Yeah,
And Aaron
Rodgers.
Rodgers is a perfect stopgap quarterback.
207, that feels a lot, right? But eh,
Maybe I can
if
get
you don't want to give away one of your first and try to solve this QB spot, like, because I like the idea of getting the Jaden Daniels or Drake May, and then still getting that third quarterback, because it's just, if you don't win the bye weeks, and okay, now you're flexing one of the other guys, and hopefully the schedule doesn't make it so where they're both on the same bye. But that's rough with just the 2 quarterbacks, and I know you would love to win this league this year. So I would definitely see if I can cash in some of these later picks. I've been looking at this class close, and I like a lot of these picks. We'll see what happens with the draft. But man, like, is anyone hate Derek Carr enough to give him to you for the 4th round? 405? Probably not. No
that.
way.
Yeah,
Uh,
probably
something
not.
something crazy like that. But yeah, other than that, man, I'm not. You haven't heard me say go buy a running back. I wouldn't do that. I love playing the zero RB game. It's just been working consistently because there's just so many uh, running backs that do have talent. They're just not getting the opportunity until the next guy is up. And I would absolutely look at trying to give. I would take a running back maybe with that 4th round pick for one. If not, trade that in for someone in one of those leagues that I'm going 0 RB. I was getting a Zeke Elliott for a 4th round pick, and he got me some spot starts down the stretch of that season. Is actually looking pretty good down the stretch of that season. Something like that for cheap, where they're going to have a role, and you can just plug them in. You don't even look. You hold your nose and you just play them, and it'll be all right. Um, so yeah, not going to invest a running back. I like the receiving situation. You got the spike boost with Drake London. After that, you've got so many of these firsts that will give you some depth here, and I'm still rooting for Jameson Williams. It's a weird career arc. Came in the league injured and has not done much. So I'm not banking on him at all. I like where you've got the three non-quarterback picks. They can all end up in your flex, but like for example, if Hockenson takes time to come back, and if Luke Musgrave's just uh if Tucker Craft is actually the Mark Andrews to his Hayden Hurst, some type of situation
Yeah,
like that. So it's quarterback, then to see if you can sneak away one more tight end from someone, just to pad that to squeeze that position, and then receiver, and just hope you get lucky at running back. That's how I'd play it. Maybe use that. I mean, that 4th round pick. I don't know. That's like my Malik Washington pick or something. I don't know if I could give
Oh,
that one up.
Malik Washington, baby. Love
Yeah.
Malik Washington.
All right, let's wrap this up. I know we're going pretty long here, but
Yeah.
I wanted to try to see can we squeeze in a rookie mock draft?
Yeah, let's do it, man.
All right. So it's just gonna be us, and you've gone ahead and selected the 101 as the guest. So glad you jumped in and got that.
All right.
So I'm not going to hit the start button. I'm just going to do manual picks. So with the 101, this is a 12 team tight end premium, pretty standard PPR type of league. So who do you got with the first pick here?
Is it Superflex?
Yes. Oh, sorry. I put Super Seth.
Well, I do feel like I'm super Seth.
Yeah.
This is the most super of all the Seths. I think this is pretty clear in a way. Caleb Williams for me. Um,
Boom.
so I mean, we could talk about it all, and I have talked about it at nauseum. I can't remember the last time a number one overall pick is going to enter a situation like like Caleb Williams is going to enter here. You know, with
It's
Keenan
amazing.
Allen, DJ
Love it.
Moore, Cole
I
Kmet
love
is a
it.
solid tight end, and they signed Gerald Everett and DeAndre Swift. I mean, in the
Yeah.
offense, and they had the number 9 overall pick too, where they could
It's
draft another
incredible.
wide receiver or a tackle or whatever they want to do, and they have more cap space. It's just insane how well Ryan Poles has managed this whole situation.
Yeah.
And as a Bears fan, I don't think I've ever been as excited. I know we're sitting here on April 1st, on April Fool's Day, but I have not been more excited for a Bears season than the season and the seasons coming up with this team that Ryan Poles has put together. It's unbelievable, man. I'm so
Yeah.
excited.
Yeah, it's the exact opposite of what you were alluding to with Justin Fields and how his situation was. So,
Yep.
with for me,
Yeah,
I'm going to take
absolutely.
Marvin Harrison Jr. with the second pick. Really love the talent of the player, and didn't get to see him in some of the uh, extra NFL prospecting cycles of the combine or the pro day. We did get to see him at the pro day last year. We've seen him on tape. He looks good, and the difference between him and some of the big prospects of the past, the number one prospects of like a JSN and Jamar Chase, those guys both missed some of their final season. Harrison's been playing. This guy's been playing the whole time and has been reliable for the team and has put up some really good numbers. So I like what he can do. I'm buying into the lineage and some of the hype by taking him over the quarterbacks. I actually do like these quarterbacks. It's not that. It's just I really like Marvin Harrison Jr. So I'm going to go ahead and take him and lock that pick in a deep wide receiver class. Still just going to go with the talent. So who do you got here with the third pick?
I'm gonna go Malik Neighbors. I just think
Nice.
he's a special. I think all three of these wide receivers up at the top of this rookie draft are special. I don't think there has to be a bust. I don't think there will be a bust. I mean, situation's going to be important. Like if the Giants, hopefully not draft one of these guys, it's not going to be great, but I still believe in the talent of all three of these guys. And Malik Neighbors, when you watch him play, he's a lot more of more, and I don't mean this in a bad way, but he's more of a bully raw player, like just gets the ball and just runs with it with like ferocity. Like he's unbelievable. Malik Neighbors is an unbelievable prospect, and I think a fairly safe dynasty asset going forward.
Well, I'm going to take a risk on Jaden Daniels just for the rushing upside. With Anthony Richardson last year, he was going 101 in some places, and he might get drafted. Jaden Daniels maybe number two, just like, or excuse me, number two, whereas Richardson was 104, and Richardson's just a huge guy, tested crazy, but still, Jaden Daniels. I love rushing quarterbacks, and I there's like an evolution of the rushing quarterback. Jaden Daniels is not the final form, but we're gonna get one of these guys, and I really like just the direction that the NFL is headed overall, and just accepting these rushing quarterbacks, building the offenses around him. If he goes to Washington, this is a team that's primed to build a team around him. If it's New England, they at least have a new coach. There's some hope for a different direction. So I'm fine taking the shot on Jaden Daniels, just knowing that year one, he's going to score points, and probably for the next couple of years, as long as he's got some weapons to throw the ball to. So let's keep flying through this thing. Who do you got at the 105? You going quarterback or wide receiver?
I'm actually going to go wide receiver. I have Roma Dunze at 5
Ooh,
in my rankings. Or hold on, I might have lied there. Actually, no, I have him at 4 in my rankings.
okay.
So I have it Caleb Williams, Marvin Harrison, Malik, and Roma Dunze, because in my opinion, like these wide receivers are special. And like I said,
This is why I got you on the show. I love this.
um these quarterbacks, and I'm not saying, my comp for Drake May, who's still on the board, and I really don't mean any disrespect, because I think Daniel Jones can be a solid quarterback in this league. He's just like, if you think about it, and you're laughing, but Daniel Jones has not been well supported either. I mean, that Brian Dable came over, they won a playoff game, but then it was right back this year to, not so great. Drake May, some people have compared him to Josh Allen, and I watched Josh Allen play live. I went to if anybody knows me, I'm a huge Iowa Hawkeyes fan. I was born and raised about an hour and a half from Iowa City, and Josh Allen, as many people know, played for the University of Wyoming, and Iowa always has a good defense with good defensive linemen, good linebackers. And when I tell you that Josh Allen was making the Iowa Hawkeye defense look like a bunch of boys out there, I watched a play where he rolled out to, I mean, it was very Mahomes-like. Rolled out to his left, came back to his right, was shrugging off defensive linemen, linebackers. Nobody was open, throwing off his back foot 50 yards down the field. Me and my buddy Drew, who went to the game with me, we just looked at each other and went, if this guy can ever figure out how to throw a slant pass, he's going to be unbelievable. Like, he's just physically incredible. I don't see that with Drake. I don't see that with Drake May. And that's no disrespect. I think he's a better processor than somebody like Jaden Daniels. He's more of your traditional quarterback, which makes me think that he's going to get drafted ahead of Jaden Daniels. We'll see. It only takes one team to fall in love with Jaden Daniels, but he's still got a lot of work to do for me. That's just how I see it.
Yeah, he has been getting that Josh Allen comp, so it's pretty tough. But that'll save me some time on breaking down my pick here, because I am gonna take Drake May.
Yeah.
Just super flex. I still like the potential for some rushing, so it's like I have him like immediately already over a Stafford type. Regardless of the age, just that type of player. I at least think he's got some ability to move. If his game's not going to be predicated on that, and I've seen at least some good throws. So if he goes to the Washington team, I'm feeling pretty good about him. If he goes to New England, it's just a tough spot for anyone. Maybe the Vikings is a landing spot. If he goes to a good landing spot like that, then I'm definitely moving him up. Probably ahead of Daniels, even though it's risky, because for me, I'm a guy who's still taking Justin Herbert over Anthony Richardson, but that's more because I know what Herbert is, and it's not even a fair comparison, but more so, there's some things that kind of concern me long term with the Jaden Daniels. So, I do like still what Drake May's got to offer, and it's more just give him a good landing spot. Maybe it'll take a year for things to shape up. So is it a fair guess who you're going to take the next spot? We didn't base this one on a real draft that happened, so it's really just based on the player talent that you believe in here at the 107.
Yeah, give me Brock Bowers. I think it's
All right.
pretty set for me. He's within my top 7. I actually have him, I believe, at number 7.
All right.
Right behind Drake May. Sandwiched in between. Actually, no, I'm bad at counting tonight. some basic math would be I have him right behind Drake May at
Okay.
pick number 6, and then I have Daniels at 7. So yeah, that's Bowers is a great tight end prospect. I don't know if he's the best tight end prospect I've ever seen, but he's really, really good. And like we broke down some of the potential landing spots. To me, there's a lot more intriguing ones than ones that make scary off. I think Indianapolis, I don't know if they trade up for him, but that would be amazing. They might be a little bit too
Yeah.
far down the draft board, but I mean, even if the Jets, who are rumored to be wanting to trade out of that pick, if they decided, at Tyler, we need an upgrade from Tyler Conklin with Aaron Rodgers in year 1. I mean, Brock Bowers, Garrett Wilson, Mike Williams, who they brought over. It's pretty damn good. Breece Hall in the backfield.
Yeah.
Pretty good offense there all of a sudden. So
Yeah.
anyway,
I like the pick. I think he can make a good blocker for the Jets, but we'll see where he ultimately ends up landing. I'm gonna go with JJ McCarthy because the buzz is just way hotter on him than pretty much any player. It feels like McCarthy is not the wild card, but more like this is the guy where it can kind of set the movement for the draft. And there's always some really crazy upsets, but this guy won the national championship. NFL really values that. The team in general is projected to potentially break the amount of players in the NFL draft from one team. So all eyes are on them. Their coach is in the NFL, so it's just so many like things that are pointing to this is a winner, and teams value that. There's guys that were much worse than I think McCarthy is, who have been drafted higher. So just going for the upside could be a big faller if he doesn't go. But right now, I do weigh my rankings a lot on where I think some of these guys are going to land draft capital wise. So I'm going to take McCarthy here, and I feel like this leaves a lot of question for who you're going to take next. There's a lot of receivers, and again, this is not based on any mock, so it's hard to know where the next quarterback's going to go. I think Bo Nix is the most buzz for the first round after McCarthy. So this is wide open. Where do you want to go here?
I think I got to go Brian Thomas Jr. I think
Boom.
he's going to be a for sure top 20 pick in the NFL draft. I do have Mike. I think he's still pretty raw. I think he beat a lot of people deep. You look at, I think he had 17 touchdowns, and a lot of those came on those deep routes where he's just burning people down the field. So again, I think he's got some developing to do, but I think his draft capital, he's pretty insulated. And I'm also kind of playing this game with you to see, like, I have a feeling I know who you're going to take, but I could be
Okay.
wrong. I'm kind of playing that game because I actually have a receiver ahead of Brian Thomas Jr. in my rankings, and I'll talk about that guy
All right.
when he comes off the board.
I'm
But
going
we'll
to
see
take
who
him
you
right
take.
now.
Oh, that's actually not him. That's actually not
Okay.
the guy.
All
But
right. Well,
I respect
I'm
it.
going to stick with my Longhorns here. I'm going to go Xavier Worthy. And the biggest red flag is he's fast, because all the fast players are awful when it
That
comes
is
to.
that is such I'm glad you brought that up. That is the laziest take out there. And we actually broke down a few clips, Matt Babich and I, on the Dynasty Roundtable, where actually this guy can actually run routes pretty well. And we're pretty close, as I said before, with Alex Dunlap, Cody Carpentier, who both work for the Texas Longhorns. Like,
Yeah.
well, not with them, but they cover them for the Orange Bloods website. And Alex Dunlap said on the Mind and Mansion show, and I was kind of surprised at how confident he was. He said, "I'm pretty confident that Xavier Worthy and Adonai Mitchell are my 4 and 5 wide receivers in this class," pushing Brian Thomas Jr. to the side, which caused my eyebrows to go up to the top of my head. So, but when people like Alex and Cody start talking about these prospects, you'd be foolish not to listen to those guys, because they dive deep into it, man. And every time I talk to Cody about it, I leave with just an interesting perspective, and he'll surprise you sometimes too. So those are 2 guys you got to be tapped into
I've got to be.
over a
As a
roster
content
wise.
creator, it is tough to do whatever I'm doing behind the scenes and still continue to watch the tape. I'm I'm exhausted. So I don't know how
Yeah,
you do it, guys. Seth is all over the place. He is covering all the players, maintaining all these shows, and still has to research everything. It is crazy, but that's why you love the game. So
we
it's
love it.
not work. It's not work. But
Yeah,
man,
we
I don't
love
know how those guys do it, and to see them like traveling for the Senior Bowl and XYZ and man, I'm just much respect to everybody who's out here grinding. I love it. So yeah, I've got a lot of research to do. Going to check these guys out. So I didn't snipe you. Who are you going to take? Are you gonna just keep playing that game and see how far they fall?
No, no, no. I gotta take the other Longhorns receiver, Adonai Mitchell. This is a guy. The more I dig into the tape, he had a really good combine too. But the tape, and shout out to the guy. It's like pull if you know, or if you're in the fantasy football space, it's like pulling teeth to find all 22 tape. And the big dog's got to eat. Nick Ercolano has some all 22 tape of Adonai Mitchell, and he's a big outside receiver who has the feet of a smaller receiver, and he is just able to get separation in a way that it looks too easy on tape. And is he the perfect prospect? No, but man, he reminds me so much of like T Higgins with Stephon Diggs feet. It's like crazy. He's really good,
Love it.
guys. And if you have like some of these later picks, these like if you get a Brian Thomas Jr., a Xavier Worthy, Adonai Mitchell, like people realize these would be wide receivers that would be in like the top 6 in if we didn't have a Dunze, Neighbors, and Marvin Harrison Jr. Like this is just kind of the draft class that we have. And it's crazy good. And Adonai Mitchell is really good. He's actually my wide receiver 4 in this class. But I thought maybe I could get Brian Thomas, and I had a
Hey,
feeling he
you
wouldn't
pulled it
come back
off.
to me. So I was
That's
able
good.
to do it. And now we're on the clock with the 112.
Yeah, and luckily, in that roundtable league that you showed me, you don't have to worry about it because you got 10, 11, 12.
Yep.
So no one's gonna
I'm
snipe you.
gonna get some good wide receivers there. I can almost promise you if I hang on to one of those picks, Adonai Mitchell is going to be one of those picks. But
All right, so I'm gonna read you from earlier, and I'm taking Lad McConkey here
that
with
is
the
a
next pick.
great that is a great pick. Great.
Yeah, I have not taken Lad in the first round yet in a single mock draft ever until right now because I cannot trust you to not to leave him there for me.
Yeah.
So man, so Brock Bowers was the main attraction for Georgia, but Lad McConkey, he absolutely showed that he belongs. And, I respect the guys that are involved in a lot of the process and, really showed some really good, sure hands, great route running ability. And, I don't have a comp for him, but, he definitely seems like a really good receiver that, is going to end up being in our lineups because a lot of times you worry about when do these guys get into the lineup, and I think some of these teams might be able to use him from day one as just a go-to guy that a quarterback can trust, and absolutely just like what the buzz is around him as well for potential draft capital. I'm not believing any of the first round stuff, but there has been some first round buzz. I definitely see him being no later than round 2 of the NFL draft, and I will definitely take that out of him. The guy that I had before, I won't mention, but you know, I just feel a little bit more comfortable with Lad than whoever I was going to take at this next pick. But got
Yeah,
it in
no,
the first round.
that
So
is that. I mean, he's such an insulated. If you think about it, like he's such a well insulated player because he's going no later than mid second round, and he's probably going. I'm not like you'd be shocked. I think he's going to be one of the first picks on day 2. I really do. Like if he
yeah,
doesn't sneak up into that first round, he's
yeah.
not going to last long in day 2.
I'm tapped into the Carolina Panthers. One of the reasons I'm doing any of the stuff I'm doing is partly because of some of the content creators over there, Unk 2020, and some of these guys, and they have been on Lad since January or even before then. And they have the first pick in the second round, and they traded to end up getting another pick about 6 picks later in the second round. I don't think Lad falls past the Panthers either. And we've seen that, like you said, the T. Higgins go at the first pick in the second round, and guys like that. That's a valuable spot. It's basically an extension of the first round.
Michael Pittman, I think the pick after T. Higgins, if I remember right, or in that same neighborhood. But yeah, these early second round picks are great for wide receivers.
We got a question here. Wanted to get this in from Andrew. Thanks for watching, Andrew. Is Marvin Harrison Jr. over Malik Neighbors plus Rome Odunze? Thinking about making a trade down proposal. Not sure how to even the deal. So we can answer that in two ways about how to even the deal, because I don't think it's fair. It's probably an overvalue of Marvin Harrison because we've got some really elite talents in Malik Neighbors and Rome Odunze. And I was thinking about something similar to this, but later in the draft, because I recently did a trade to acquire Malik Neighbors, but I was giving up some of these picks in the range that we're in right now, where I was giving up a 112, a 201, and a 202 for Malik Neighbors, and that's a lot. That was me giving up 3 pieces for that, and sometimes I get a little crazy, but these, like you just said, these are guys in this range that could be first rounders, and so that means these back into first rounders are being pushed by Malik Neighbors and Odunze, who these guys are elite. And as much as I believe in Marvin Harrison Jr., think about the points per game that you're getting from some of the top guys that went in this range before, like Jamar Chase. This last season, Jamar Chase only had 16 points per game. As much as we love Jamar Chase, and he could still be the wide receiver 1 in Dynasty, I still believe that's a possibility. I don't have him there, but point is, that's a guy who, for the circumstance, isn't producing what it would be worth if you were to trade all of that to get him. And not saying he's Jamar Chase, but if Marvin Harrison isn't Jamar Chase and he could have that type of a lower floor than we might expect, then it's kind of an overpay to get that from Marvin Harrison Jr. You're going to be insulated from a lot going wrong with Marvin Harrison, and he's projected to go maybe to the Cardinals, so it's a good situation. But Burrow's with Jamar Chase. That's basically best case scenario, and so now you're looking at, okay, he needs to just perform as CeeDee Lamb or Justin Jefferson did and get those 20 points plus per game. And even if they do that, I still see there's a scenario where Malik Neighbors does that because he's so explosive, and you can see Rome Odunze being a PPR monster. He could be a Mike Evans, even a touchdown type guy. So that's way too much for me to pay, and to even that out, we're essentially dealing with first round picks. Draft picks. So maybe there's, if the person who has MHJ has the 201 or the 202, because they're in that range, then 1-2 and 2-2 plus maybe 3-2 for Malik Neighbors and Odunze. I don't know. Does that even it out? Because I still think if you're giving up the Marvin Harrison Jr., knowing that's the more highly valued asset, you want to still be getting something in return. You don't want to just get the Marvin Harrison piece for those two guys, giving up the maybe 103, or, let's say maybe in his league, they're higher on the quarterback. So it could actually be the 105 and the 106 for the 102. In that range, I probably don't just want the 202 on top. I might want a little more. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I would definitely, if you can somehow pull off Neighbors and Odunze. The problem is you're going to have like the next pick, or like you're going to have 2 top 6 picks probably for the 102. Sorry, I'm going to mute myself.
Oh, no problem. And I had it wrong. He was saying trading down. So yeah, he is the one trying to get those Neighbors in Odunze. So he would have Marvin Harrison at 102. So maybe he would have to be the one to give up. In that case, I'm trying to give up as little as possible.
Yeah.
So I would definitely try this deal and maybe give a third.
I mean, if I have the 102 and somebody's trying to come up to the 102 and they're offering me like the 103, like, so I for sure get Malik Neighbors and the 110. So I for sure probably get one of Brian Thomas Jr. or Adonai Mitchell. I'd probably do that, to be honest with you.
That'll give you some
I think Neighbors is pretty, like, Marvin Harrison Jr. is sweet, but Neighbors is also unbelievable. And some people that I really like, John Lobb has him as his wide receiver 1, Malik Neighbors. I mean, it's clearing away Marvin Harrison Jr. wide receiver 1 for me. But Malik Neighbors is amazing. Like he's good too. So like if you can somehow swing Rome Odunze and Malik Neighbors, that is a move you make all day long.
Yeah, he says, appreciate it, fellas. Was thinking Marvin Harrison Jr. and Aiyuk or Pittman for Neighbors and Odunze. So MHJ and Aiyuk for Neighbors and Odunze to even it out, or MHJ and Pittman for Neighbors and Odunze. I mean, those are both good receivers, and it feels almost even. You're just trying to get younger.
Yeah, that's close. I'd probably take in that scenario. I'd probably take the Marvin Harrison side because Pittman or Aiyuk. I mean, the rumors are that they're going to trade him. You know, I mean, who knows where he ends up ultimately, but I'd say I'd probably prefer Pittman just because he's the alpha receiver there, with a quarterback who I think is going to be good enough as a passer. So, yeah, I mean, so in that scenario, I'd probably lean the other way. You know, give me Marvin Harrison Jr. and Michael Pittman or Brandon Aiyuk.
Awesome. Hey, hope that helps, Andrew. Yeah, we think it's okay to trade down for Marvin Harrison. Just make sure you're getting the right value for it. There's a lot of good players here, so it's kind of hard to go wrong. I personally would like to see about the Neighbors Odunze versus trading all the way back. But you might be able to get a lot more that could actually help your team and build in some other areas if you are willing to drop down to that second tier of wide receivers. And just to get back into the second round here, you're on the clock. You know, you're shooken up from not getting McConkey. What are you going to do to recover now?
I think I'll take my my RB1 in the class and give me Trey Benson.
Let's go, Trey Benson out of Florida State.
Trey Benson,
backs in the league.
Yeah, Trey Benson, to me is my RB1 because he has he's 6 foot, 216 pounds with home run hitting speed. There's another running back in this class that's very similar, but Benson's just a little bit more polished to me, and he's like tough in between the tackles as well. So also productive enough in college for my taste with that Florida State team. So, yeah, Benson, I have no problem. I'm a little bit higher on the running backs than my partner over at the Dynasty RoundTable, Matt Babich. So I'm interested to see what you do here.
Yeah, when you say all that, then now I'm leaning running back. But I'm sticking with my guy, Troy Franklin. I like Troy Franklin a lot. I love I like these players that are getting just a ton of yards and they're dependent on a lot. You know, as a new content creator, you know, I looked at film before, but you know, now I'm looking, what I can't really factor in is the level of competition. I haven't figured out how to weigh that properly. If it's not a huge drop down into the Pac-12 versus SEC, but it actually kind of is. It's just such a different defense level that you're going up against. But I just love those big games when Troy Franklin's going up against, you know, the Michael Penix Jr. team and trying to do his thing, or, you know, shutting down the Colorado football team, you know, when they were both 3-0. And, you know, it seemed like in those games, I was like, hey, who is this guy? And yeah, you look really good and you look at the numbers, you know, 1,300 plus yards. And, you know, it's a pretty good indicator for success. The combine knocked him down, but before that, everyone was pretty much in on Troy Franklin. I think it might have even been the non-running, the non-40 that hurt him more, just because it just how it came across. But I'm still gonna follow the numbers a little bit here. Go with what I think is a pretty good talented wide receiver, smaller frame that hasn't stopped the Devonta Smith types. He's no Devonta Smith, but still, I like what Troy Franklin brings to the table. So, are you going running back here?
No, this might be the first pick where you go, really, Seth? This is what you're doing?
Okay.
But I'm going Malachi Corley here.
Oh. Okay. Let's scroll down.
So Malachi Corley is
what's his nickname?
His nickname is Debo Samuel or something like that. So like he is unbelievable. I know his ADOT's low, and that's the knock against him is that maybe he doesn't have the most polished route tree out there. But this is a guy like he was on Bruce Feldman's freak list, clocked at 23 miles per hour for I believe it was 4.3440. He's on record as running.
Oh
I know he
yeah,
has
because he didn't go to the combine, but
Yep, he did. He
yeah,
did not run at the combine, and just you turn on the tape of Malachi Corley. I mean, I can't think of anybody else but Debo Samuel. I mean, he's 5'10", about 220, 215, 220. Like, just a freak. Like,
yeah.
I think some team is going to look at him and just fall in love. And like this is like a Kyle Shanahan Debo Samuel replacement just waiting to happen. Like I don't know anything about the 49ers draft capital situation, but it would not shock me at all if the late first round, if they still have their first round pick, Malachi Corley's sitting there for him.
Yeah,
It just makes too much sense because Kyle Shanahan loves those kinds of guys, those yak guys, and that's exactly what he is.
the Yak King, according to
Yep.
him, behind Malik Washington. So man, that's I was not expecting that. I love that pick. I am gonna go with Jonathan Brooks, but quickly, yeah, I absolutely love that Malachi Corley pick. I think those rushing type wide receivers have a lot more touchdown upside too. Because we're not always just going to feed it to CMC. And if you don't have a rushing quarterback, then it definitely helps there. But with Jonathan Brooks, had some really good metrics from Texas, limited sample size with him being behind some really good players over the past couple seasons in Bijan and those boys. So he had one chance to make it count, and he really had a limited chance when he went down to injury, but you could see the drop off from Texas. You know, I'm here in Austin. You saw the drop off in that play when he was off of that offense, and he was a kind of a player coach in the locker room as far as just the respect he had from the team. I think that stuff goes a long way, especially with the running back position being able to get higher draft capital. You need a little bit more than just to be able to be a running back, and I think that can help him with the landing spot. The fact that he's even in the draft conversation is because he's got more than kind of meets the eye there, but he does have those numbers, like what he can bring to the table. And at some point, you got to take these backs, and I have seen a lot of these mocks to the Dallas Cowboys. The last episode I did, he went to the Dallas Cowboys for the CBS Sports mock. So I like the opportunity he's got here with whatever team he has. It's going to be a slow burn. You're going to have to wait a little bit for him to ramp up. I can be patient, but it is a tough pick because there's still a lot of receivers that folks might prefer. So who do you got here with the 5th pick in the 2nd round?
Give me the other running back, and I like the Jonathan Brooks pick.
Does his
But
name start with J?
it does start with J. Jalen
Oh,
Wright from
oh.
Tennessee.
I was
Where if you
hoping he would fall.
my comp for him this whole process, and it is not Kenneth Walker, but Kenneth Walker light. Because when you watch him play, he has that home run hitting ability with the speed, and he proved that he can add weight and not lose any of the speed, which is kind of terrifying to somebody who probably is going to be looking to tackle him. So I don't know, man. To me, and I think he improved. He's got some work to do as a pass catcher for sure, but just as a pure runner, like there's a lot of similarities to me to Kenneth Walker. But Kenneth Walker, and he's not in that same category yet because Kenneth Walker had one of the most unbelievable college seasons there, like at Michigan State, that I've ever seen. Like it was just just go look at the college dominator rating. It's unbelievable. So
Yeah. Yeah, Kenneth Walker is why I really took a closer look at Jahmyr Gibbs, even though they're not the same player, but those 1-year transfers who just get that opportunity to go off. Like I was really like, okay, I didn't know that it was just that likely. You know, I'm still getting used to the transfer portal era, and Walker went off in that season. And yeah, I had a feeling you were going to go right. And underdog, this guy's just I can barely get Jalen Wright. Like
yeah.
he's just flying up and up the board. I'm gonna go with a quarterback that I think will go pretty early. That I would think this is probably something that we've been sleeping on. If this was a real draft and Bo Nix did go in the 1st round, I think he'd go a little bit higher, probably ahead of some of these running backs. But yeah, this is someone who's a late. Uh, I don't know if breakout's the word since he had a couple seasons there, but overall, he seems to have a lot of the tools you need and to just get the job done as a quarterback. And I think he'll have a role. So I mentioned earlier, the rushing's not there, but I'll still take a pocket passer who can get the ball to some guys over there. If it is Denver, I don't like the landing spot. It's probably not going to be Denver. There's too many quarterback needy teams. We'll see. Maybe he doesn't have the talent to go that high anyway. Still, I was watching him and Troy Franklin together, and I thought they had a pretty good connection. He was getting the ball where it needed to accurately. So I'm good with Bo Nix here. Who do you got with the 207?
We're gonna go running back again and take I'm getting all of my top running backs here. I'll go Blake Corum, man. Blake Corum.
Nice.
If you watch Michigan football, you know that Blake Corum was the heart and soul of that offense, and everything was predicated on the run. And to me, this is more of an old school player. He can run extremely well in between the tackles, great vision, great cutting ability. Struggled a little bit outside of the tackles. Good enough pass catcher. I mean, I think he's just a fine, like basically lock and loaded day 2 pick. Like you talk about insulated players. I think this guy's about as insulated as it comes. I think he's a round 3 pick. And we all know the Chargers need a running back, and we all know Jim Harbaugh, right there in Michigan.
305
just makes too much sense, doesn't it? There's these things that just make too much sense because the Chargers are going to take a running back, Alex. They only have Gus Edwards right now.
Yeah,
I mean, come on.
5th pick in the 3rd round. I think I could definitely see it. I don't see Corum getting past there. Just like with JJ, I mean, championship caliber player. He could be a goal line back if that's all they need him for. He's only 5'7". That doesn't matter for the running backs. This dude's stocky. He's a little bowling ball down there. Showed he was super strong at the combine. So I like what Blake Corum's bringing to the table as well. You think he's going to be much of a pass catcher?
I think he can develop there. I really do.
Okay.
I'd have to bring up. I'm pretty sure I'd have to bring up his counting stats, but on tape,
no problem.
Yeah,
he was the highest like PFF rush grade running back in the last 10 years. That's all I need to know, man. Blake Corum's really good. Okay, so it gets a little tougher here. You're eating up all the running backs. I feel like I shouldn't flinch and just go ahead. I may have this out of order in my ranking. I'm gonna take Ricky Pearsall here.
Oh, that's good.
At the 2-8.
That's somebody who's really high in my rankings too.
Yeah. All you got to see is that one-handed catch, and that's the end of the tape. You need to see. No, I like these guys who just seem to be really good at pass catchers, just reliable. Because when you see in the NFL guys who are dropping the ball a lot, the opportunities just wane because it's not even just the coaching staff; it's the quarterback themselves that are making these decisions on who to get the ball to. So I think he can be a sure-handed guy that teams and quarterbacks might rely on. We'll see where he gets drafted, but buzz has been up on him. I think I have someone else ahead of him at receiver, but I don't know. I don't trust you, man. You keep taking all my guys. So who do you got here at the 2-9?
I'm thrilled because I'm going to take another Michigan Wolverine and Roman Wilson.
That's exactly who I took him over.
Yeah, Roman Wilson. I know he wasn't productive until his last year. Like he wasn't super productive until his last year, but 700 yards in the Michigan passing offense is really productive to me. And this is just a guy who had a great Senior Bowl, did what he needed to do at the combine. The on-field drills were average, but when you put on the tape of Roman Wilson, it's a guy who at times does struggle against bigger, more physical corners, but he can get open and he can run just about any type of route you want him to run. And he reminds me just play style of Jaden Reed. I think he's this year's Jaden Reed, which a lot's going to depend on the landing spot as well. But again, I mean, who knows? I mean, Jim Harbaugh needs some wide receivers. now that Keenan Allen and Mike Williams are out of town. So it could just be, hey guys, why don't I just bring my Michigan Wolverine team to Los Angeles? You know,
Yeah.
this is another guy that if they want to go wide receiver at that 305 pick and he's there, I mean, that would be a fantastic landing spot. So we'll
Yeah,
see.
absolutely.
But Roman Wilson to me is just a really, really talented, just solid wide receiver. He's just good at about everything. He's kind of like a jack of all trades, a master of none. But he's really good at just about everything you need a wide receiver to be good at.
Yeah. I was hoping that maybe the lower numbers might have let him drop to you. I'm just going to show you. This is so bright. You might have been able to see it, but Roman Wilson right ahead of Ricky Pearsall is where I had him. So I
Yeah,
was taking a little bit of a gamble that he would fall to me. I'm
yeah.
going to take Michael Penix Jr. here. I'm starting to get confused who all is a junior and not. There's so many juniors in this class. Uh, so this is a guy who's older. It seems like maybe medicals could play into decision for teams, but just with seeing the healthy season, I as just a fan, I can't really know that much, and just seeing him be able to get that deep ball out there to folks, I think he might be able to do that in the NFL. You know, it would be awesome if he had a Tyler Lockett type player that he could throw the ball to. It reminds me of a Russell Wilson, who's that's kind of their skill set to just chuck it up and you rely on that receiver to go get it for you. You're going to need that if you're going to have Michael Penix's play style. He's not going to be running around, and he's going to need some folks to potentially bail him out of some of those throws. But I like guys who will take those attempts in Superflex League. It's hard to imagine them falling out unless there's going to be one of these quarterbacks that are a second rounder. So maybe you take him, maybe you don't. If it's in that Will Levis range, last year I was still taking Levis in the 207 range. So I'll take Michael Penix here just because he's a quarterback.
There you go. There you go. I think it's fine value where you got him. Let's see. What am I going to do? I think now it's time. To
Is it?
take Keon Coleman. I think now
Yeah.
is like the perfect
Yeah, he was
place.
right under Pearsall for me. But
Yeah.
I'm still not even confident. I don't know. And I'm sorry. It's just that like the Dallas media that I'm kind of close to, they seem to be really high on him. So
He's
they're
super
talking
raw,
first
man.
rounder. So
He's super raw. Like anybody who can just walk, like play basketball at Michigan State and just like it's nothing. Like, oh yeah, I'll play basketball for Tom Izzo. Like that's not a big deal for me. I know the 40 at the combine hurt him, the 4.6, but I think some NFL team is going to view him as an athlete that they can mold and shape into what they need him to, into what they need him to be. And he's still very raw. I have many concerns with Keon Coleman. I had more concerns when he was up in that late first round conversation, early second round conversation. I was very leery there, but if he falls to the back half of the second round, early third round, I think it's a perfect shot to take on a guy with a ton of upside, but super raw.
yeah. Speaking of a ton of upside and super raw, Xavier Leggett off the
Yep,
board with the
that's another good
212.
one. This is
And my
the
Go ahead.
crazy thing about this draft, Alex, is you're getting Xavier Leggett at the 212. It's
Yeah, and some of those spots where I said I knew at the time I was making an egregious move by trading all those picks to get a Malik Neighbors type. I still in those drafts have a ton of late second round picks, and I'm thinking if I'm going to have a million receivers that I'm drafting in the second and third and fourth round, then I want to consolidate on the top end because I can only start so many guys. I understand I can trade some of those other players that hit, but anyway, there is a lot of talent here. And my last guest that I had on kind of broke it down for me for Xavier Leggett and was saying that even though he has that late breakout age, he had a lot of personal issues and things like that um, that I don't have the full details on. But there's a lot of misfortune he had that kind of led to that. It wasn't just that he couldn't get on the field from talent's sake. And this guy's got great speed and size. I think he was running in the 4.3s. And I mean, it's just another good little dart throw here, and who knows where that might hit, and a team might just take a shot. He's not a DK Metcalf, but just a really big body. Maybe he only has to run a few different routes in the route tree and give him a shot there.
It was kind of crazy because I don't know why people were expecting him. I guess maybe it's because how South Carolina had him listed at 6'3", whatever, 227, and he weighed in at 6. Or I'm like, guys, that's still pretty big for a wide receiver.
Yeah,
I mean, that's like I think Justin Jefferson's like 6'2", two something. Like not
yeah,
that he's Justin Jefferson as a technician at all,
yeah.
but
But he's bigger than everyone in the last draft
he's
class.
like he's big and fast and like can run away from everybody still. Like I for some reason he got dinged because he didn't look like DK Metcalf. I got news for people. A lot of people don't look like DK Metcalf. Like DK Metcalf is just an alien of a human being. So yeah, he's not DK Metcalf, but at the 212, this is fine. We don't need to punish this guy because he doesn't look like DK Metcalf or doesn't, weigh in at the same size as DK Metcalf. He still runs a 4.39. Like it's still, maybe even less. I have to double check, but he ran in the 4.3s.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, with that speed, 6'1", I'll take it. And he looked good. Some people think it's because Rattler got there. He finally got a chance, but yeah, again, I had to dive deeper into that. But it sounds like this guy's got some talent and just wasn't able to showcase it. And everyone goes on a little bit of a different path. Like a Brandon Aiyuk, he goes through the JUCO route, and it's hard to know if that's going to hit or not. But if the team does their research and they believe in the talent, you never know. Xavier Leggett could end up flying up these boards when it's all said and done. The profile a player or size wise and what he can do, teams might value him over Roman Wilson just due to what he might be able to do and what they might be able to turn him into.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
What do you got here to start the third round? And again, appreciate you jumping on here. I want to try to move through this,
Yeah,
but
if we could do rapid fire, that'd be great.
yeah, let's do it. Let's
I'll go Marshawn Lloyd. Love what he can
boom.
do
Yes, sir.
in the third round.
Yeah,
So
I think he hasn't got a lot of passes because Caleb Williams loves to throw the deep ball, but it seems like he can handle some pass catching work as well. I'm going to go tight end premium Jatavian Sanders, get the last Longhorn I can while I can before you snipe me. Who you got here at the third pick in the third round?
let me bring up my rankings. I'm gonna go Javon Baker, wide
Nice.
receiver UCF.
He goes very late in best ball. You can get him with that third to last pick in your draft.
Yeah, and
Like
it's
third to last round.
he was so productive there, and he's another one of these big outside receivers. Like that's fast
Yeah,
or fast enough.
absolutely. I'm going Jalen Polk here.
Best
Take
hands in the
another,
class. He's
yeah,
got
and he was a leader on the team too. I like the potential for him to maybe be an alpha for a team, but at least I feel like he could be a wide receiver too.
yeah, he's to me those mitts, those hands, like he's got some of the best hands in the class. Just as far as like he never dropped anything on tape. It's crazy. I will go with this pick, Will Shipley,
Nice.
running back. He had a great pro day. And if there's anything we like in fantasy football, it's a pass catching running back, right?
Yes, sir. Absolutely. Hopefully you don't snatch mine. I'm gonna go with Jalen McMillan. This is one of my favorite guys. I love the talent. He was putting up numbers similar to Dunze when he was healthy a couple seasons ago. But yeah, I like that whole trio that they had there in Washington.
Very good. I'm gonna go with my guy, Jermaine Burton from Alabama, wide
Nice.
receiver.
I like the
I don't
respect on Burton
I don't
there.
know why it's hard for me to figure out because this guy played for Alabama. He's
Whoops.
productive every single year, even as a freshman. Played for Georgia before he transferred to Alabama. And there were games he just completely took over. Like the first guy that pops in, or the first game that pops into my head is the Texas A&M game where he caught 100 or he caught 9 passes, 197 yards, 2 touchdowns, and they just couldn't cover him. And I don't know. Like I don't know what I'm missing. Cody doesn't like him. Just throw that out. Cody Carpentier is not a big fan, but I don't know. I don't know what I'm missing with Jermaine Burton. I love like in the third round. I'm just gonna have a ton of Jermaine Burton. I just will.
Yeah. Yeah, that's yep. I got Burton right here, behind Baker. So
Yep.
you
Yep. That's
you're
about
you're
where
you're
I've got him.
killing it for me. Hey, 2 seasons with Alabama as a starter. Come on now, and some Georgia time, guys. Those teams believed in him. I think he's going to be good. All right, let's see. Uh, oh man, I'm going to go with the upside of Braylon Allen here.
That
Upside being young and one of the biggest running backs in the class, and just hope the team takes him. I don't like the hands at all, but um, sometimes vision's okay, but really young and fast, so I like that. Or excuse me, young and big, so I like that from our running
young and
backs.
big. Yep. And Matty Kiwum had an interesting point about Braylon Allen. He's one of the first players to declare for the NFL draft. In fact, he might have been the first. Um, and you
He's
just
like, I'm
don't do
ready.
that. And his point was, you just don't do that unless you know that you're going to get drafted pretty high. You know, unless you're like confident, because he could have gone back. Like he's a young guy. He
Yeah,
there's nothing wrong with him going back to Wisconsin. Um, so I don't know, man. It's just we'll see what happens. I'm not the biggest fan of his, but in the third round, that's a fine pick.
yeah,
He's going to need to get better as a pass catcher. He reminded me a lot of AJ Dillon. If you remember AJ Dillon at Boston College, he was kind of another one of these like physical
yeah. Similar
freaks,
size.
But I don't think Braylon Allen's nearly as fast as AJ Dillon was, because AJ Dillon, I believe, I'd have to double check. Wasn't he like a 4 in the high
Oh, I
four
don't know.
fours or something? I'd have to double check that, but
Yeah, yeah. Just this, or I should say, about a couple months ago when we were first doing our Ricky mocks, or whenever Sleeper first came out, at least a round earlier, Braylon Allen was going. I think mid second round he was going, and it's probably before people started looking at these receivers, and obviously before the combine and stuff like that. But your guy, our guy Theo Grimminger had Braylon Allen
yep,
as the RB1 in the class, and I heard him recently, just move off that take a little bit.
yep,
And I
yep,
think he's got Benson as one now.
yep.
So yeah, it's a big fall, but I don't think anyone's shocked at this point.
Yeah, Theo saw the light. Theo saw. I was trying to tell him, but sometimes at 4.53 for AJ Dillon. By the way, I must have been looking at
Okay.
a pro day or something with the 4.4, but 4.53 with that kind of size is moving. 4.53 at 247 pounds is
Yeah,
scary.
it's gonna be hard
So,
to stop,
all
especially with
right.
young legs.
So I'm up here. Let me get my. You know what? I'm gonna
Don't do
go
it.
back to the wide receiver well, and go Brendan Rice from USC,
Nice. Another
who,
son of a Hall of Famer.
who I would not be shocked. And this is
Hot take.
the year 2024 in the NFL, and teams do things to appease quarterbacks. The Bears have the 75th overall pick in the third round. It would not shock me at all if that's Brendan Rice. It would not shock me if they pass up on wide receiver in the first round, and probably the biggest need on their team right now is pass rusher. So let's say they go Jared Verse or Dallas Turner, whichever one they want. They're at 9, or maybe they trade down a little bit and just maybe they draft that Jackson Powers Johnson from Oregon, because they could use a center too. I doubt if that happens, because I think they're going to draft an edge rusher or defensive tackle with that pick. But in the third round, man, Caleb Williams' teammate, Brendan Rice, he's
Yeah.
sitting there. If you like him, why not?
And guess what? We've been seeing these quarterbacks select their guys, get their teammate from college. It's been happening more and more, a lot. It's been happening. So,
Happened last year. It wasn't a teammate, but CJ Stroud was
oh
apparently
yeah,
pounding the table for Tank Dell.
oh yeah,
So,
yeah. I could definitely see that. And if anything, just a big body, a big target for a rookie receiver. All right, I'm gonna go with my guy Malik Washington.
There you go.
And
That's a
this
great
guy
pick.
has got the most yak in the class. Late or 5 years in college, actually graduated from his first school and ended up getting his master's at his second. So guy's smart, and he can play. So I was really impressed by the yardage he put up. Has some good grades all around, and I think he's not going to ever be a wide receiver one, but somebody probably is in a wide receiver three role. He's not super tall either, so but he could definitely be a contributor on offense, top three in three wide receiver sets. So he'll get an opportunity. Um, you know, just depends on where the landing spot is. But I didn't want to get sniped on him, so I went ahead and grabbed him here. Who do you got with the next pick?
It might be, just because he fell here, but Devontae Walker.
Yeah,
I'll go ahead and take him. He
yeah,
is another
guy's a burner.
one of these fast outside bigger receivers. And the biggest issue I have with him, sometimes he gets a case of the dropsies. But there's a lot to like with Devontae Walker. There's no question about it. He's got a lot of raw talent. So, and you go right away with Ben Sinnott from Kansas State.
Yeah, I liked his. For me, it has been between him and like Cade Stover, but Benson has been getting deeper passes down the field, about 10 yards deeper than Cade Stover. Stover seems to be more of the blocking type. He's got hands, but I just like Ben Sinnott much better.
Yeah, I have Sinnott as tight end 4. And I
Oh,
actually don't have. Cade Stover is actually my tight end 6. So, or no, yeah, tight end 6.
you don't have to go tight end with this next pick, though. Just letting you know.
I'm not. I don't think I'm going to. Give me the what fell here.
A lot. Uh,
There's a lot here in the 4th round.
I think so.
Give me the pass catching running back. Bucky Irving. I know he had not a good combine. He's a lot of people. He's slower and he's not as big as we'd like to see for that speed. But he caught a lot of passes in college. So, and you go right away with Estime, and I loved Estime before the combine. So I'm interested to hear from you. Like 4.7.
It's a death
Yeah,
knell. It is a death knell, but in the 4th round, I'm just taking shots on running back, to be honest. But he did have one of the highest PFF rushing grades from a running back. You can just lean on that, hope that he gets in a situation where he can get some goal line work. It's going to be rough. I'm not sure if I am confident enough to do it in real drafts because the time was so slow. So that's just not good. But he had some really good metrics. I remember putting a Twitter post out about him. I don't remember the stat right now, but anyway, we're trying to rapid fire this. Who do you got next?
I'll stick with running back. Give me Ray Davis from
Ray
Kentucky.
Davis. Was it
We're cleaning up
24?
running backs in the 4th round. But another Notre Dame running back
He's a
that
bowling ball.
another Notre Dame running back that ran slow at the NFL Combine was Kyron Williams.
Ooh. So we're expecting Estimate to go in the 5th round then, and then break out in year 2. Got
There
it.
you go.
Nice. So
There you
just
go.
sit on that Estimate.
I love I'm not afraid to draft him in the 4th round. Like I'm perfectly fine with that.
Oh yeah.
Like he on tape. I love his tape. Like he's big. Like he's got some breakaway speed. Like it might not have shown up at the combine, but like I think he's faster than that 4.7. But
Yeah,
anyway.
I've got in the last 10 years of draft eligible players, Blake Corum and Audric Estime are top 5 in PFF run grades, minimum of 10 rushes per game. So it's Blake Corum number 1, only a decimal point ahead of Bijan Robinson, and then Javonte Williams, Audric Estime, and Zach Charbonnet in the top 5. So kind of just going off of, what has this guy shown us? He's shown us he can play. So,
Boom.
combine, be danged. All right. So, it's my pick. I'm going to go with Theo Johnson,
There you go.
the Raz breaking tight end, and just hope that him being athletic pans out.
I
Really just
love
basing it off of that.
I love Theo Johnson. Theo Johnson's my tight end 3 in this class. I think there's a lot to work with. He's really raw, but I think if he puts it together, I think he's a better blocker than people give him credit for. And he's big and he's fast. And I think that Penn State offense did him no favors. So um, I like a lot of what I see from Theo Johnson. I'm going to take Spencer Rattler. I'm just going to do it.
Yep, that's what I was debating between.
Yeah, so I'll take Spencer Rattler here. I know some people like to poo-poo this because he was kind of a jerk in that whatever that QB.
Yeah,
It, it was
whatever
not
his QB, yeah.
whoever I don't know if you're allowed to have an agent in high school, but that was not a good career move for him at that point
They're
in
too
time.
young to be on that show.
Yeah, he came across, yeah. So, but I just want to remind people that he had his job taken at Oklahoma by the person who's going to be the number 1 pick in this draft. And
Yeah,
there's a lot of
no
quarterbacks.
slouch.
There's a lot of quarterbacks who would have lost that battle. So Spencer Rattler has something to prove. It may not be anything, but in the 4th round, I will be taking some Spencer Rattler if he's there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think he's projected no later than the 3rd round. Who knows if that happens? If it's the 2nd round, this is definitely a smash pick. So, good arm talent. That's not in question, really. So, and if we think he's over to the decision making, which I believe he won Senior Bowl MVP, and regardless, it's a good little stab here in Superflex. So, for me, it's getting a little bit deeper, but I'm going to just go with a little bit of another like Raz guy, a little Raz all-star
Ooh.
in Isaac Garendo. Just a running back that showed some really good speed at a really big body size for the running back spot. So if he can just either get coached up or get into an offense where he's an injury away, then maybe he can do something for our rosters. He spent a lot of time as a backup, I think, until his final year, pretty much behind someone who might not even get drafted in this draft. So we'll see. But I like the athleticism, so he's trying to just stick with the running back theme here.
Very good. Very good. There's another. Let's see. Let me take a look here. So many guys that I think are worthy to be drafted, but I'm just gonna stick with a guy that I really like and who like is I just think he could be special or more special than people think. And Dylan Lobby,
Yeah, it's a good one.
from New
Isn't he
Hampshire.
like the best pass catcher at running
Oh,
back?
his tape. I know he was playing at New Hampshire, but like he would have made it onto some D1 school. Like he's just look at Dylan Lobby highlights, and it's not that that's all I looked at because you're not supposed to look at all the highlights. I understand, but there's a lot of them out there, especially like, and he can return punts and he can be a contributor on special teams, which is going to get him on the field quick. So I think he's going to have an opportunity somewhere.
Yeah.
And I think he's shifty and a good pass catcher and exactly the kind of running back that I think NFL teams are going to be looking for. Like him and Will Shipley, I think are extremely interesting in this draft, especially for fantasy. So those are 2 to keep an eye on.
Yeah, I like the pick. When you were mentioning Shipley earlier from the pass catching standpoint, I was thinking at the time, all right, I can't let him get me on Dylan Law, but you got me. So I'm going to go with a running back again in Isaiah Davis. And he had, all green RAS score, physical running back, extremely patient runner, got some good pass protection, which might get him on the field for some of these teams. And he got some production at the collegiate level. So just going to roll with that here in the 4-8 spot. Who do you got at the 4-9?
I don't know quite what to do with this player, but I'm intrigued enough to take him here, and that's Johnny Wilson from Florida State.
Nice. Yep.
Big guy. Looks more like a tight end than a wide receiver, but I think we'll see what happens with him. I mean, really kind of a similar player to Chase Claypool. Chase Claypool might be faster, but just a big physical receiver. So
Yeah, and we're closing in on the end here. I have Jamari Thrash ranked here currently. I'm not sure how I feel about that, but I'm going to go ahead and take him off the board. What do I got here for the notes on him? So Thrash, yeah, I'm pretty high. I got him at 42. It looks like. I don't know how I feel about that one, but yeah, quick separator after the catch ability, strong technical route running skills, comfortable tracking the ball down vertically. So just a shot here. Probably just rather keep going running back if I'm being honest. But who do you got here at the 411?
yeah, with my last pick, it's still a lot of good options. I mean, even if we were going 5 rounds, but we've been going 2.5 hours here. Kamani Vidal is my pick from Troy.
Nice.
Not much of a pass catcher, so he's not the Dylan Lobb, the Will Shipley type, but man, he can run well in between the tackles, outside the tackles. Really good runner. So
with the final pick, should I go son of McCaffrey or son of Gore?
so it just depends on your flavor. I like both of those players quite a bit. This is why,
Yeah.
it's just like I have other players ranked ahead of them, but I just
gonna
think it's
stick
a
with Gore.
testament to his class,
Just gonna stick with the running back. Yeah.
If he's anything like his dad, he'll be in the league for like 20 years.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, man. Yeah, it's a deep class. I've only done the 4-rounders for guests because they do end up going long when we're breaking them all down. Most of my videos I've done 5 rounds if people want to check those out. And we're gonna have plenty more mock drafts to come in the future. So Seth, man, I really appreciate you coming on the show. Hey, absolutely best of luck in your drafts coming forward. Hopefully you get that team turned around. And hey, we got a lot more content for you guys coming up with Player Profiler. We've got mock drafts on Mondays. We've got shows every morning and pretty much every afternoon. So whatever you're looking for, Dynasty, redraft, best ball, we've got you covered there. Seth, let us know where the people can find you one more time before we close this out.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Seth_DIEWOLD or Diewold. And I know some people at Player Profiler still don't know how to say my name, but it's okay because I love them. They're great people. It's gotten butchered more ways than anything. Joking around with Maddie. The funniest butcher of my name. I was a baseball player in college, or not college, high school. I was never cool enough to play in college. Baseball player in high school, and the press box announcer, who clearly did not do his homework or ask me how I pronounce my name, said, "And now batting third baseman Seth." And there's a pause. There's always a pause because he doesn't
how do I say
Seth Diewold. And then you're like, the whole dugout's like, did he just say Diewold? Where did the R come from? I can understand the die, right? The DI.
Yeah.
But so yeah, you can find me at there on Twitter at Seth_Diewold, not Dieworld. And then you can find me on YouTube as well. I have my own YouTube channel. That's probably the best thing to do. And same things for Alex, is like, it means so much to us, especially when we're getting started, just to see people subscribing to the channel. So if you saw anything tonight that you were like, wow, this is really cool, I want to see more of this, or if you just say, Alex seems like he's a pretty passionate guy about fantasy football and I want to help him out, it's a free thing to do. Subscribe to the channel, just click that button, like the video. That helps us out so much as we're trying to grow and make this passion a reality. That we do, every day. In my case, that I do it, I'm lucky enough that I am able to do this, mostly full time. It's probably like 70-80% full time with, just
awesome
working, elsewhere just a little bit. But the goal is to be full time in content creation this year. And I can't do, I couldn't do that without the people subscribing to my YouTube channel and liking the content and commenting on the videos. Even if you disagree, I don't care. I love a good disagreement. So It doesn't matter to me. It's just, what matters the most is knowing that, you know, and what keeps us going as far as like inspiration goes is knowing that people are enjoying what we're doing and that they like it enough to subscribe and like. And that's the best way. Like I said, Memphis Young says it all the time. It doesn't mean it might not mean it might you might not think it means a lot, but it means so much to guys like us, especially when like, and I know I've been in Alex's shoes before, just starting a YouTube channel, and mine's still pretty much in its infancy. Like seeing those subscriber counts go up make like gets the juices, like gets me excited. It's like, oh good, like I'm on the right track here, you know, or you know, a
Yeah.
comment or a thoughtful comment can really help out too. So any of it and all of it, it just means so much to me. And I thank everybody who has subscribed to my YouTube channel already or followed me on Twitter. Just means the world. So thank you to everybody who supported me so far, and we're gonna get there. So, and Alex too, because Alex is a good one. So like this video, subscribe if you stuck with us for the marathon, 2 hours
Yeah.
40 minutes. We can talk all day about this stuff.
Oh
So
yeah.
appreciate you having me on, man.
No, absolutely. Thank you for coming on the show. And yeah, we absolutely just barely scratched the surface. And the best thing is it's always changing. So there's more reasons to check back in with us. And we are here for you. We love this. We love it so much that we're not even worried about our own teams anymore. I don't care if you snipe my picks. You know, it doesn't matter. We're here to help you guys win your league. So there's always a full crew and staff of just folks completely dedicated to this. So please come check us out at Player Profiler. Check me out here at Dynasty Football Key, and you can get me on Twitter at Dynasty F Key. And yeah, jump in the Discord, talk with me offline. Happy to help out with any trade ideas that you want to go over and roster reviews, stuff like that. So really, again, appreciate everyone for listening. And for us, that's going to do it for tonight. And hope to see you in the next video. See ya.